All right, got that started. All right, Dr. Wilson, how's it going?
Hey, good. How you doing?
I'm all right. I'm all right.
I don't think I've seen you before when I've scrolled through because I like the name Volcy.
Yeah, my last name is Volsi. How's
Okay,
it
I
going?
like that. It's unique.
Yeah. It's from the island of Haiti. So how's it going, man? Now, you said that we are the evidence, so we do have evidence for a God. Sure. Go ahead and talk to me. What evidence do you think there is?
Well, okay. Now, sadly, we're talking about a Germanic term, okay, God, all right? And that's problematic in itself.
Hmm.
So, looking at what that term supposedly is to represent, which is basically good justice. We can say it that way for now. We get to interact with each other. That's all we really do on different levels, different scenarios, but that's what we do as humans. We interact with each other from the time we're born until we're no longer around.
Okay.
The only thing we have to truly offer each other is our goodness. That's it.
Okay.
Nobody wants our badness. So if
Okay.
I'm
Now,
saying that God is really based on goodness, that is what humans aspire to.
okay. Cool.
So we
Now,
are
when
the
I
evidence of God.
okay, now the thing is, you're coming up with a very like general, broad, esoteric version of God. Like God is
Well,
basically human goodness, and
but
that's
isn't
not
that the
how.
term?
Hold on, give me
Yeah,
a second. That's not terminology that people usually use when they mean God. They usually mean either they mean two one or two things. Either the one that came from religion, basically a an agent, a supernatural agent that created the universe
right.
and controls space and
Hmm.
time,
Yes.
or they mean like a deistic version, like meaning something that almighty creator that started the
Right.
universe and then screwed off somewhere and we can't detect them, things
Yes.
like that. So when you're talking about your version of a god, basically that can be anything. I can't tell that god apart from any TV show that I watch that I like, because if we're defining god
Okay.
as just if we're just defining god as like human goodness, then my mother is god because like she's a nurse and she's saved like hundreds of thousands of lives, hundreds of lives. I'm not gonna say thousands, but hundreds of lives over the course of her career. So she represents like some of the embodiment of human goodness. Is she God now because of that, or is her actions God because
Okay.
she embodies human goodness? Like I think
So
those type of definitions
hold
don't
on,
really are not really
because
useful.
you're running and creating my definition for me. But what you
Okay.
have clearly established, and this may let us both know whether or not this is a proper platform for me to be on, is that when you said that the general consensus of how you speak about God is basically that of some type of biblical version or some kind of deistic version, okay? And so that is one notion of God, and that's all it is. But if that's the primary statement, if that's where you're coming from, then I understand why what I'm saying looks very general to you. But can you understand that what you're talking about looks very dogmatic to me?
No, because like I
Okay.
would then have to ask how you define dogmatic. Because well,
Dogmatic
when
is
let me clear up.
something,
Let me just clear up something up.
well, you asked the
When I'm
question.
talking about, I got you. I just want to clear something up. The reason why I gave you those definitions is because when people usually talk about God, that's what they mean. But if
Hmm.
you have another whole definition, because from what I heard from you, you're like, God is like the human goodness that we all search. If that's a definition, then it's not really what I'm talking about. It's not really useful.
Right.
But you can go ahead and
Okay.
explain what you mean.
So, first of all, I would never attempt to define God. And I say that with a PhD.
Appreciate it.
I would never attempt to define that term. Now, if I can give you what would look like a picture of what that term realistically looks like in our lives, what I would give you is some type of concept that looks like something that looks like whatever image you want Father to be. But what Father needed was experience. His experience, he birthed through himself and gave it the name of will. We call it here mother. All right? The problem occurred in that initial experience. And if given enough time, it may be best not to do that here. We can see what the role and the pattern of this idea of this all knowing God, okay, who has to have experience in order to know what it is, because he didn't have any experience.
W go, W
Everything
go.
was not created yet, everything wasn't here yet. See, I'm taking your God back to its origin. It too has to have an origin.
Okay, so Dr. Wilson, so allow me to understand how exactly. Give me a second. Hey, y'all,
Pardon?
please mute yourselves when you come up here, please. Please mute yourself when you come up here. Yeah, so Dr. Wilson, allow me to understand how exactly are you defining God? Because like it's like I heard everything that you're saying, but
Okay.
I'm not
So
exactly understanding what you mean.
I also said I would not attempt to define God. Well, all I'm trying to do is draw some kind of concept, and that's all it is, of something that has four aspects to it. What we define somehow as a masculine type of energy, all right, as well as a feminine type of energy, all right, as well as a combination of both of those, whatever that may look like,
Okay,
and a physical body.
new goal up. Okay,
Now,
so
that's what I'm calling, that's the concept I'm offering you around God. But that is not the definition. The definition is the interworkings of those four aspects inside of us. That's where the definition and meaning of God comes from. How well can we synchronize, coordinate, understand, bring together, unify, so that our behaviors demonstrate what we consider as our ultimate good. God has to make sense in a way
yeah,
that we can walk it out. If we can't walk God out, then God doesn't make any sense. And that's the problem with this Holy Bible and this deistic form. They're up there. Meanwhile, we're down here. No problem.
okay.
So let's make God right here. Otherwise, its purpose is outside of us. That doesn't work.
All right. So, Grebo, how's it going? Grebo, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. How's it going? All right. So, are you over 18 and do you disagree with something I have on the board?
I'm 24. Yeah, I disagree, bro.
All right, cool. I'll go ahead and put 15 minutes on the clock. What do you, I well, not what do you disagree with? I don't think there's any good evidence for a God. Why do you think there is?
Because the evidence is you.
What about me?
Let's see. Well, you're a human being. You have the most complex DNA and genetic makeup on the planet. Let's see. The things that humans are capable of. I mean, this is my opinion, obviously, but the things that humans are capable of, like engineering, creating. I mean, even the phone you're on right now. I mean, I just feel like even us humans are like God in our own way. But then there
Actually,
comes a
I'm
lesson
sorry,
where,
Grebo. Let me ask a clarifying question. Do you believe in a God in a sort of any sort of like tradition?
like a religion.
Yeah, any sort of like religious tradition, or how do you define God?
Um, I define God honestly really simple, like all powerful, omnipotent, someone who can. I mean, I don't know if God is male or female, or if God is even of that. You know what I mean? So I can't describe that part.
Got
But
you. But is it under any type of tradition, like Islam, Christianity,
no,
Baha'i, Hindu? It's not any
no,
type of tradition, right? So it's but is the God that you believe in the God of the Bible?
no.
The God I believe in is not the God of the Bible. Okay, so it's sort of some sort of deistic God that kind of created kickstarted the universe and then screwed off somewhere.
Yeah, like I don't know who that God is, but I just feel like this everything that we see and discover didn't just appear out of nowhere.
Yeah, but the thing is, no one says that. The discussion is whether really like this anthropomorphic agent that created the universe is an actual real thing, and us, being super creative creatures doesn't necessarily show that's true. This doesn't necessarily show that that's true.
I mean, it's either that or we're created by aliens.
Who says we were even created? How come we just can't be a natural byproduct of this universe?
Because I don't believe that. I believe in science to a certain extent, but when it comes to like biological science, I think it's all cap, bro. Because and in the form
Okay,
of like
so
not like disease science and like solving disease problems and things like that, but I just in the form of like how they say, we evolved from monkeys and like what I mean. I don't believe that's cap, bro.
that's not what that says.
What do you mean? That's exactly what science.
No, it
is.
doesn't.
What?
No, they don't.
That's a theory.
No, it's not. Evolution doesn't say we came from monkeys. At least not the monkeys that we see today. It doesn't say that. It says that
Evolved
us and the
apes.
other. Yeah, we are apes.
I mean, apes are I guess they're not monkeys. I guess, but
But the thing
they're
is,
still-
we are apes.
but that's not true.
Okay, do you want me to prove it right now? I can ask you a couple of questions to prove it.
Go ahead.
Okay, you have fingers, right?
Of course.
have
Every
a
animal
thumb?
has fingers.
You have a thumb.
Yeah.
Does a thumb have fingerprints?
Yeah.
And does it face outward like this? Does it do exactly what I'm doing now?
Yeah.
There's only 5 creatures on this planet that has all those in combinations. You know
Okay.
what they are? Humans, chimpanzees, gorillas, orangutans, and bonobos. We're the only 5 that can do that. That has this combination all in conjunction. The only 5. If we're not related, how do you explain that?
That doesn't make any sense though, because like I could use that same analogy and say there's different species of birds. There's turkeys, there's eagles, there's
And
pigeons.
they're all birds, right?
Right, but they can all do this. They can all do the same thing, fly.
Right, because they're all birds, which means that us, gorillas, chimpanzees, bonobos are all apes.
Right, but we're all mammals.
Right, but we're all apes. We're the only apes that can do exactly what I did.
Bro,
Hold on, wait, hold on, let me finish.
It's not making sense to me.
Okay, I know it's not making sense to you because you don't understand the concept of common descent. When it comes to common descent, this is how phylogenetics works. Just like how someone's in the comments, we're gonna have things in common and we're gonna have genes in common, and that's how we can prove that we're all related. Like for example, you and your siblings look alike, right?
Not really.
You don't look anything like your siblings.
No.
Do you look like your father?
Not really. No. I look like.
Do you
my
look like
mom.
your mother?
Yeah.
Okay, so you look like your mother. You saying like none of your siblings look like your mother or your father?
No, not really. We kind of look different, to be honest.
Do they have different fathers?
No.
All right, then one of your siblings look like your mother or your father, bro.
I'm being dead serious, bro.
All right, bro. One of your family look like your mother or your father. Like that's always gonna be the case.
They don't.
All right, so you're the only one who look like your mother.
Yes.
Does your mother have siblings?
Yes.
Do they look alike?
Not really. No.
You capping.
I'm not
That doesn't
capping,
happen.
bro.
That doesn't happen. You capping. That doesn't happen.
I'm not capping.
You're saying that none of your mother's brothers or sisters look alike. None of them.
No.
And they have the same parent?
They have the same parents. Yes.
And they have nothing alike with their parent.
You can
Nothing.
say they have stuff alike, but they don't look like the person. If that's what you're.
I'm not saying they look exactly the same. I'm saying they look similar. Like I look like my dad, just like you look like your mom. I don't look exactly like him, but we have similar features. Like I have his cheekbones, his eye shape, his eyebrows, his nose.
Okay, I
If you
guess
see
I
my
got the
dad,
I got the same mustache as my dad. If that's what you're trying to say.
exactly. What I'm saying is like you have the same features. Your siblings are gonna have the same features as your mother and father, bro. Like that doesn't happen unless they have different fathers. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm talking about is that when you have things in common, that's how you figure out people are related and through their genetics as well. Our morphology is just like the other apes. We don't have morphology like birds, right? Like we don't have hollow bones, we don't have wings, we don't have nothing of that. But this type of skeleton right here, we only share that with apes and other monkeys. That's all we share that with. So if we're not related, how do you explain that we have all the same thing together?
We're still. I mean, I'm not saying we're not related. That's not what I'm implying. We are related. You're correct, but that doesn't
Okay,
make us
so
the same.
but well, I'm not saying that we're the same. What I'm saying is that if we're related,
But
that
you're
proves
saying,
common.
how
Oh
aren't
no,
you
wait,
saying
listen. And I'm saying is that if we are related, if us chimpanzees, bonobos, gorillas, if we're all related, that means that we have a common ancestor.
But you just a second ago said we were related because you implied that we evolved evolved from apes and
Yeah,
you said we were.
when
But
we
I
didn't
disagree.
we didn't evolve from apes. We are apes. We have a common
But
ancestor.
I don't agree with that. We're
Okay,
humans. Apes
but
are apes.
so then how do you explain the fact that we have the same exact morphology?
Well, there's
How to explain
that's
that?
why there's different. That's why there's I'm gonna explain it right now, really short and simple. That's why we're called humans and they're called apes. There's differences. We're humans. They're apes.
I know that there are differences. What I'm saying is that humans are part of the ape family.
No,
We're
I
considered
disagree.
apes. You can't disagree with science, bro.
You can consider us apes, but it doesn't mean we're apes.
Yeah, the reason that
Monkeys
we're
are
apes.
closer to
Hold on,
apes.
hold on. Listen, Grebel. The reason that we're apes is because of a few different things. All right, we give live birth. Our eyes face forward. We have ears that face outward. We have a nose that faces down. Our morphology and our skeleton is upright. We have 5 fingers. We have thumbs. We have a social lifestyle. We have the genetics that shows it. We have the biology that shows it. We have placental birth, just like the chimpanzees have placental birth, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You see what I'm saying? Like all these things are what makes us apes. Are you saying that because humans have that, chimpanzees have that, gorillas have that, we all have that same name in common, but we're still not apes? Seriously?
No. So I'm okay. What I'm implying is, yes, science can agree and say that we're apes, like it's in the definition that we're apes, right? But that doesn't make us apes. The reason why they created that entire definition.
What do you
is
think
because
makes
they
an ape
have
an
a
ape?
theory that we came from apes. That's why
What?
they.
No, we are apes. What definition
the
do you
whole
have of ape?
theory.
What theories are facts? What definition do you have
Bro,
of ape?
what?
In science, theories are facts.
No, it's not.
All right, I want you to swipe away, type in scientific theory on Google right now, and tell me what you find. Go ahead and do that right now.
Do what? Wait, say that one more time.
Go to your Google right now and type in scientific theory. I bet you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Hey, Boo, give me a moment, all right? Wait till he comes back. Hey, Jamie, I've been inviting you to come up like for several times, and you keep talking in the comments. If you just keep going ahead and talking in the comments, I'm just gonna go ahead and like either mute you or until you come up.
I mean, I already knew that. What's your point?
All right. So I
There's
told you
nowhere
that.
in that
I told you.
definition
Hold
that
on.
says
I told you that theory, science, and science theories are facts, right?
But there's nowhere in that definition that says it's a fact. I already knew that.
What is it? What does it say?
It's just saying it's a bunch of evidence collected, right? And that's tested,
Which is
essentially
a fact.
over and over again. No, that doesn't make it a fact.
A
it was a fact,
well-substantiated.
it would
Hold
be the
on.
definition.
Hold on. A well-substantiated explanation of some aspect of the natural world is not a fact.
It doesn't make it a fact. In this case that we're talking about, it doesn't make it a fact. You
So
can research-
evidence. Hold on. Evidence is not a fact.
What?
A well-substantiated explanation of some acts of the natural world supported by a body of evidence that has been repeatedly confirmed through observation and experiment. What does confirmed mean?
They don't have all the evidence though.
What does confirm mean?
It means they have some of the evidence.
No.
why it says-
Confirm is a fact, bro.
Bro, no, it's not, bro.
Hold on. What do you call a body of evidence that's been repeatedly confirmed? What do you call that?
It's not a fact. It doesn't say it in the definition.
Wait, hold on. Bro, the definition of a fact is not fact. That's not the definition of a fact. What I'm asking you is, if I give you evidence and it repeatedly confirms something, what exactly do you call that?
A fact is something that has been proved.
Right.
Okay,
Proved
but
by-
this has never been
yes,
proved.
Yes, it
just been
has.
studied,
Yes, it has. It has been proved.
backed up by
I just,
evidence.
I
That
literally
makes
just proved. I just literally just proved it to you.
bro.
I proved it to you by asking you several questions. I proved it to
mind
you.
blown right
Hold on,
now.
hold on, wait, Grebel, listen. You said a fact is something that's been proved. What do you call when I say something is supported by a body of evidence that's been repeatedly confirmed? How is that not proof?
Because it's a study. It's bro.
That's not what study means, bro. No. Stop. Think about the words I just used, bro. A body of evidence, a whole bunch of evidence that confirms something. That's not a fact?
The Big Bang has never been confirmed.
Yes, it has. What do you call microwave background
It
radiation?
hasn't,
What do you call the cosmic microwave background radiation? What is that?
bro. What do you call what?
What is the cosmic microwave background radiation? What is that?
I have no idea, bro. I'm not
Exactly. That's the problem.
astrophysicist.
That's the problem, Grebo. You're talking about things that you don't know about.
Yeah, but I don't have to be a rocket scientist.
You don't have to be a
know
rocket
that-
scientist, but you do have to know some of
know
this stuff.
that
Hold on,
literally
Grebo.
science-
You don't have to be a rocket scientist, but you can't say that the Big Bang has never been confirmed, and then when I ask you about the thing that did confirm it, you don't know what it is. Come on, bro. That's dishonest.
But bro, science says it. How am I being dishonest? Science itself
being
says that the Big Bang is a
Yes.
theory because it hasn't been confirmed.
No, it has been confirmed.
why
Again,
I'm gonna
hold
go
on.
on
You said
Google.
hold on. You said it's a theory because it hasn't been confirmed, right? But in the definition of theory, it literally says a body of evidence that's been repeatedly what? Repeatedly what? Confirmed. Exactly. So the Big Bang
hasn't been
theory
proven,
has
bro.
been confirmed.
It hasn't been proven.
Hold on, Rebel. You
literally
literally
said
said, hold on,
that.
wait, stop. You literally said that the Big Bang has never been confirmed because it's still a theory. Hold on, wait, stop. Listen. You said it has never been confirmed because it's still a theory. And we just read the definition of a scientific theory that says a body of evidence that's been what? Confirmed. So the Big Bang has been confirmed.
Yeah, but I
You
was
don't know
speaking
what
in
you're
the
talking about.
present. I was speaking in the present.
No,
because
you don't know
people
what you're
that
talking
said
about
it
because
hasn't been proven.
again, hold on, Grebel. What is the cosmic what is the cosmic microwave background radiation? What is that? Do you know what that is?
No.
Exactly. The cosmic microwave background radiation is what confirmed the Big Bang. It confirmed it. If you look that up right now, you'll see that it's been confirmed. Have you ever looked up the Big Bang to see what confirmed it? Have you ever looked it up?
I have not done that. No.
So you don't know what you're talking about, bro. This
Can
is
I
the
just ask you
problem.
one question.
Go ahead.
Okay, my only question for you is this. Why in the definition of when you look up the Big Bang, right, theory, and you ask Google or any other source out there, has the Big Bang been confirmed / proven, right? It says no.
You want to bet me money?
Theory.
You want to bet me money? Do you want to bet me money?
Well, I mean, no. Why would I? We're just having a
Yo,
conversation.
you just said if we Google that right now, it's gonna say no. Do you want to bet me money?
I'm not putting money on anything, bro. I just,
Exactly, because you don't know what you're talking about.
I mean,
because
if-
when I
If you think it's true, you can just pull it up and show everybody. But I know what I'm saying is true. If you pull it up and it says the opposite of what I'm saying, I will drop. I will literally drop. If you ask Google, did the Big Bang really happen or is it a theory? I will drop if it says if it really did happen. I will drop.
again, do you understand what scientific theory means, bro? We just read it.
Yeah, I understand it perfectly, bro. But I'm
All right,
saying,
so okay, but the thing is, why I'm saying that you don't understand it is because I keep on asking you something that's well supported by a body of evidence that's repeatedly confirmed. What does that mean? Every time I ask you what does that mean, you can't admit that that's just a fact.
which part of that evidence has been confirmed?
I told you the cosmic microwave background radiation.
And what is that?
What is that is basically the cosmic background radiation is basically radiation that we see in the background of the universe that we would expect to see if something like the Big Bang happened. It's essentially radiation that shows that universes are pulling apart. And if the universes are coming apart and the small instances coming together with like with our galaxy, but if they're pulling apart, that shows that at one point and back in time they were all further apart, right? That's what the Big Bang is, an expansion of space time.
Okay, what are the chances that that's just a bunch of stars? Like, because since we have billions and trillions of stars, what are the
Radiation
chances
isn't
that the
stars, bro.
radiation are coming from the stars?
We know we know how radiation looks when it comes from
Heat
stars.
slash light
We
radiation.
know how radiation looks like when it comes from stars, and we know how radiation looks when it's gravity pulling them apart. They have different waves. Come on, man.
So you're
These
saying
are
that could
you're
be
talking
light
about things that you don't
radiation?
know. Hold on, bro. The thing is, I'm not a physicist, right? I'm not a physicist at all. If you tell me what's before the Big Bang or how the quarks form, I'm gonna tell you I don't know, right? There are things that I can't tell you about physics, but these are clearly things that have been confirmed and shown in multiple scientific papers, and you have no idea about them. The most basic thing about the Big Bang is the cosmic microwave background radiation, and you said that you don't know what it is. You don't know what
But
you're
I'm,
talking
I'm
about,
just
bro.
saying, what's the chances that it's a radiation by the stars? You don't believe in light
It's not
radiation?
no, it's not radiation. We know it's not radiation from the stars because those give off different wavelengths, bro. That's how we know it's not radiation from the stars. They give off different wavelengths. This is basic science, bro. You should have learned this in the ninth grade.
Oh, sadly, I didn't get taught that, bro. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe the evidence wasn't available.
Yeah, it was. I learned about the Big Bang in the ninth grade, and I graduated in 2005.
Bro, I'm just telling you, like, at the end of the day, my evidence for God is you. You are the greatest creation.
All right. All right, Boog, how's it going?
So
How's it going, man? Are you over 18 and do you do you disagree with what I have on the board?
I agree, man.
Oh, you do agree.
Yep.
All right, not a problem.
I was gonna tell Jibo that if he believes in dinosaurs,
That's actually a that's actually a very good question. All right, but Boog, I appreciate you being up here, man. You have a good
all
night.
right.
All righty. All right, Wayne, how's it going?
Hey, what's up, beloved?
What's going on? Are you over 18 and do you disagree with what I have on the board?
Brother, you know I agree with you, man. Stop playing, man. You know
Oh,
you right.
wait.
You know you right.
I just remembered. I just remembered you.
You know
Okay.
you my man. You know you right. You know ain't no damn women coming from no man ribs. You know snakes don't got voice boxes. Come on, man. These people know these stories are just ludicrous, man. Very silly. A bunch of skullduggery. You know this. You know how we get down. And these
I already
people,
know.
and it's insulting to the black man's and black woman's mind. It's very insulting for us to run with these damn stories and accept them as a reality. Where are the grave sites? I mean, none. We have not one, but we have carbon dating bones that can go back to someone called Lucy. We can find her bones, but we can't find Adam, Eve, Steve, Joe, Job, Mike. Nobody. Luke.
Ricky, Bobby, Mike.
Exactly. They all characters. You know that. You know that.
We know that. I appreciate you, Wayne, man.
What's
Like,
up, man? I love you, man. Keep doing what
love
you're
you,
doing, brother.
love you too, bro. Thank you, brother. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and keep on moving. Just for a quick commercial break, User and Aaron will get you guys next. Just for a quick commercial break, you guys keep liking it live and keep sharing it. I appreciate everyone who's here. We're at 90 people in here, 5.6K likes. Go ahead and keep liking so we get more debates going. I do have a gift goal. I'm almost there, y'all. Give my gift goal. I do have a subscriber goal. If you would like to see me do more of these, get the production better, go ahead and go ahead and subscribe to me. It's only $2.99, less than a cup of coffee. I appreciate y'all. Join the cult. Join the cult of Volsi. You get to see my handsome face every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and I appreciate you all. User, how's it going? Are you over 18, and do you disagree with what I have on the board?
I'm 66 years old. I just want to say one thing.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. The most logical stance a human can take about this issue is mystery, because it's disingenuous to say God exists, but also it's disingenuous to say He doesn't. So I always, all my life, since I was 14, decided to take the position I simply just don't know. I don't, you know, I think it's the most logical position any human can take is to wait a minute. I can't prove that he doesn't exist, but also I can't prove that he does. So it has to go into the the line of being a mystery, and we live under a mystery, point blank, period. That's all I have to say, young man. Thank you for letting me come up. I don't know if you enjoy hear from seniors, but that's what I.
Not a problem. I appreciate you. All right, y'all. W user, I do appreciate anyone who comes up and has a sensible take. That's not a problem. All right, Aaron, I'm not sure if you're still there. If you are, please come back. There you are.
I'm
Aaron, how's it
here.
going?
I'm good, man. I'm over 18, and I do not agree with the
Gotcha.
statement.
Gotcha.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna keep it
Eli, he
pretty
was speaking
concise.
facts. I appreciate you. All right, my bad, Aaron. Go ahead.
No, you good, man. I'm gonna just keep it kind of concise. Basically, cause and effect. Everything we see has a cause. We make it. We make houses. We make buildings. Everything like that. Logically, we would have to come to the it should be an overall consensus that something had to make it. Whether you call it God or supernatural, whatever you call it, whatever that we didn't make, something had to make it because everything is finite except for energy.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So, let's get some clarifications. The God that you're talking about, is it any tradition in any type of religious tradition, or just a conceptual out there deistic God?
I believe in a specific God, but I mean, pertaining to the conversation, I
Okay,
don't think it's really relevant. Not that I'm ashamed or nothing. It's just that a lot of times when you give, what you really believe, they'll try to pick apart. You're always just talking about, if any God exists. And then if we agree to that, then we can talk about theology.
That's fair. What's but you do have a specific one.
I do.
Okay, which one?
Christianity.
Gotcha.
Jesus.
All right. So when it comes to whether a God exists or not, yeah, sure. The nature of causality is a mystery, and things existing instead of not existing. Why is there something rather than nothing? That is also a mystery. Sure, like we don't understand what causality is yet, and we don't understand the nature of existence or why there is something yet. None of that implies that a God exists, though.
Well, that goes to my point of it's finite though.
What is
Like
finite?
the opposite of infinite. It has to have a beginning. The earth is finite. It was not always
What-
here.
Right. It wasn't always here, but what is the it that you're talking about? That's finite. What's the it in there?
What do you mean the it?
You
I'm
said
sorry,
that.
my daughter was hitting me.
No, all good. You said that it's finite. Well, what do you mean by it? Like the universe, like existence?
The universe, existence, the earth, everything is finite except for energy.
Well, as far as we know, the universe is is infinite. As far as we know, we don't know if the universe has a
If
hard
the-
edge or a stop.
Well, then where did that can't be true because you believe in the Big Bang, and the Big Bang would have created the universe.
Well, the Big Bang is not the beginning of the universe. It's just an expansion of space time at a certain point. We don't know what's pre-Big Bang.
Okay, well then even then you would have to logically you would have to have something that created it only because of what we see today. We don't have anything that we've ever seen just come out of nothing, correct?
Right. Like there was never a nothing. Like nothingness is not a thing. That doesn't exist. But what I'm saying is that pre-Big Bang.
No, I mean
whatever
things
that-
manifest out of nowhere.
Right. That's not.
We've
a thing.
never observed that.
Of course, that's not a thing. That doesn't exist. So like things don't manifest out of nowhere. We know there always had to be something. Like even the universe, it always had to be something. There was never a point where
Yeah,
it was
God.
complete nothingness. But the thing is that that's a gap in our knowledge, and you're just putting God there with no reason.
No. The reason is logic. Again, if we have never seen you say you said something about nothing doesn't exist.
Yeah,
Right.
there's no such thing as nothing. Nothingness is not a thing.
Okay, well, the house was nothing before you made it, correct?
No, there were materials before the house.
Before, so you can go all the way back to the seed or whatever, but regardless, until you formed that house, there was nothing there.
No, there were things there.
The house wasn't there.
The house wasn't the concept we have of a house wasn't there, but there were the materials that came from the house was there.
And so we use that material that was there to create the house, correct?
Yeah, we build the house.
Exactly. So obviously, if we didn't create the materials, logically thinking, you would have to come to the conclusion that something would have made it. Just thinking logically here,
Right.
like
But
if
that doesn't extend to the universe though, because the thing is, we know that things can come. We know that things are byproducts of the natural world, like clouds, lightning. Nothing has to, put water molecules together in order to make a cloud, right? We know that's just a natural process of our world. So
yeah,
how
but
come
that process had to come from something.
that process comes from condensation, from heat, from
But
the laws of
overall,
physics.
though, because
Yeah,
we
but that
can't control that.
right, but that comes from physics. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that, physics and chemistry. What I'm saying is that the universe could also just be a byproduct of physics and chemistry. Physics that we don't understand yet, but it doesn't mean that necessarily have to mean that it doesn't necessarily have to be that it came from some sort of agency.
Hey, host, can I ask
It
you a
would.
question?
Give me a second. I see you. I give everybody about 15 minutes. But yeah, Aaron, what I'm saying is that yeah, sure. I'm not saying that there was at some point there was nothing and all of a sudden everything existed. Nothingness, like I said, cannot be a thing, right? So like what I'm saying is that we know on our planet, there are things that happen due to natural byproducts, natural processes. How come the universe can't be the same thing?
Because everything we see has a starting point. Like the earth was everything we see operating in the earth had a starting point, which is what I'm saying.
What do you mean
Because
by
it had a
starting point?
the earth had a starting point. It wasn't here.
Yeah, the Earth formed out of dust and gas from like billions of years ago. Sure.
I mean, that's the assumption because it kind of fits your worldview. But again, that's a theory.
We have proof
You
of that.
know, what's the proof?
The accretion disk. We actually do see, like, when we look into other parts of the galaxy, we actually do see planetary formation. Like they're taking pictures of it.
Yeah, but that still doesn't negate my point.
Right, but what I'm saying is that it's not just something that fits my worldview. We actually have proof of it. Like we look into telescopes out into the galaxy and we see planetary accretion disks forming in other parts of the galaxy. Like we know that this is a thing that happens.
So then let me ask this. Have y'all ever actually seen a planet form from that?
No, it's too far away. We can't see it, but we do see the
Okay,
disk.
so you're making an assumption on what you see. But you really
Right,
you
but,
can
like,
make a
It fits the math. It fits the chemistry that we can see from it. It fits everything. So why wouldn't we say that? I mean, like if it walks
that
the
still would
duck,
make it a theory though.
right? One thing is that when it comes to science, theory are facts. Like that's what theory means in science. In our colloquial language, theories are just something that we're guessing. But in science, a theory is a body of facts.
A theory, if I'm not mistaken, is actually a view on the evidence, and you repeat it and things like that, and you see a consistency with it, and so you base a theory in air quotes, and then say it's, I guess, scientific fact.
Yeah,
But in all
yeah, in science, like when you gather a whole bunch of evidence that repeatedly confirm something, then yeah, like what is
But
something that's repeatedly confirmed?
it wouldn't confirm it though. It would just be you would have to look at all the evidence you have from an unbiased place because people believe in evolution and made this thing up well before they got even other evidence. So if you
Hey.
have something,
Hold on, Caddy. Go ahead, Aaron.
if you have something that you're looking at and you have an idea of what it might be, now you're going into it looking for evidence for your viewpoint.
No, right. That's
But I'm
that's not how science works. You have to. The thing is about science. All
Well,
your experiments.
That's what a lot of people
Right.
would believe that it wouldn't work like that, but essentially that is how it worked because there was
That's
never
not how it
any
works.
evidence for evolution, at least not macro evolution,
Yeah, there is like the fossil record, but
not for
what I'm
not
saying
for not for macro. And all that stuff has actually is faulty dating systems.
well, how do you explain you realize there are 7 different dating systems, right? What are the
Sure.
others?
I'm talking about all of them.
They're
They're
all
faulty.
they're faulty.
Well-
All right. Well, we know about carbon dating that it can only go through a certain point. But what about radiometric and isometric?
Isometric, I think is what bio something. What look, I haven't dug deep into that.
Right,
It's
and
not
that's
like
well,
not to the
well, Aaron,
ground
Aaron,
floor of it.
I got you.
Well,
but
what
Aaron,
I mean is,
hold on, Aaron. Let me just say, this is actually the problem, because like, let me ask you this question: are you a geologist?
I'm sorry. What you said? My wife was talking to me.
Are you a geologist?
No.
All right. Neither am I. So I know about these dating systems, and you may be right that there may be some faults in the dating systems. But how does that prove all of geology wrong?
Well, anything is faulty, you have to take with a grain of salt. It
Right,
can't
like-
be an absolute fact if it's faulty.
It can't be an absolute fact if it's faulty.
Yeah, it's faulty. Like there's gonna be mistakes in it somewhere. So how can you say it's an absolute fact if there's mistakes in it?
Okay, so there's faults in the theory of relativity, but we use it to communicate right now. Are you gonna say that you can't trust GPS?
I'm not saying you can't trust it. I'm just saying if GPS is a little different than dating something that supposedly is 10 billion years old.
It's not.
That's a little bit different.
It's not. The reason why it's not different is because you're saying that it's not 100% and it's faulty. So is the theory of relativity, but we're using it to communicate right now. You see what I'm saying?
I get your point.
Okay,
It's still
so
it's
like when it comes to these things, like none of us are absolute experts in this, right? So how can we can then claim that we can't trust this if none of us know what we're talking about?
And I,
well then you can't claim that you can trust it.
Yeah, I can, because
Outside of this physical evidence we have for relativity, fine. The dating system, that's a whole different ball game. But actually, that wasn't even my original point anyway. The original point was pretty much the cause and effect and logic.
right. But what I'm saying is that causality doesn't prove your logic. You know what I'm saying? Like you're just saying that there are things that cause things to happen, and we all know that. The nature of causality is a mystery, but that doesn't prove that all of a sudden that a God has to be in there. We just don't
But-
understand the nature of causality.
No, what I'm saying is what we see, everything we see, we should automatically bring in our mind that, oh, there is a cause for this.
Right.
That's how humans are. So if we see something and we don't know the cause, logically speaking, we would look and say, okay, so what is that cause? Something had to cause it. Because my whole point about saying finite was that finite has a starting period.
Aaron, I
Right.
think
And so
hold on.
Hold on. Give me one
just
second,
real
Caddy.
quick, because I'm about to get off. I ain't gonna hold y'all too long. But just real quick with the finite, you have to have a starting period. So if you have something finite, the only thing that can create finite would be something infinite.
I mean, not necessarily. What I'm saying is that's still a gap in your logic. How do you know that? How do you?
How's that a
that's-
gap?
That's a gap in your logic because you don't know that.
Because you can't create time within time.
That's how God operates.
No, he's outside of time.
How can it be outside of time and
Because
creation itself takes time?
he's eternal.
How-
He
how
never
can-
had a beginning.
All right, so that means the universe never had a beginning.
What are you talking about?
Appreciate it. All right, if God never had a beginning, then I can also say that the universe never had a beginning. What's this?
You can say that, but we can say energy, which is can't be created or destroyed.
Right. So
But
energy always existed.
It can be
and-
transferred.
yeah. So energy always existed, and then it transferred and it were converted, and then our universe started. No need for a God then.
No, the logical thinking would be it was God that transferred the energy to create the universe. That
That's
would
not
be
logical.
logical.
That's
It
not
would
logical.
be logical because
That's a God of the gaps.
Hold on. There's also
That's-
the
that's-
theory that
that's a-
exists. There's
No,
also the theory that exists that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So that means what you refer to as transferring of energy is not actually existent. You're only, how can energy
That's the law of
transfer?
thermodynamics.
No, hold on. But see, the law of thermodynamics, when implied within finite model sciences, says that energy cannot be created nor destroyed infinitely, which would mean that it always has been. And if it always has been, therefore, there is no transfer of any type of energy. There's just energy that always has been, because it cannot be created nor destroyed. So that would
But
make
it can
this is
be
what you need to
no.
understand. In finite model sciences have no consensus. There's no consensus, meaning they do not know. So when you choose to take a camp and be in it, you're negating the other side of the scientific fields, the other side of study. So in finite model sciences, which consist of quantum physics and some other groups, and then you go in another thing, determinism and free will has no consensus in neurology. It has no consensus in neurology.
That's a different discussion.
There's different camps. That's not a different discussion. You find yourself in a camp.
Free will is a
you're
different discussion.
indoctrinating with
But
a religion.
regardless,
Hold on. Let's just wrap it back around. What I'm saying is that, Aaron, you're saying that the logical thing to do is to say that God converted that energy. That's not the logical thing to do because, hold on, wait. Well, the reason why it's not a logical thing to do is because you actually have to prove that God exists first. You just can't say that energy got converted to create our universe by God without actually showing that God exists first. That's what I'm saying. That's a gap in the logic.
Well, let me ask y'all
What-
this: is it possible for any man to show you your future before it happens exactly the way you said?
Give me a second, IC. Like I said, I give everybody 15 minutes. All right.
I'm just laying the plane here.
I got you going because we got 30 seconds left, and in the next hour,
Yeah,
I
I'm going to
gotta.
land the plane. Basically, I mean, I hear what you're saying, all of that, but as mankind, we know we can't have a computer unless we create a computer, and everything that we have.
All right, Gary, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
I'm all right. Are you over 18, and do you disagree with what I have on the board?
I am over 18, and actually, your prompt, I misread it at first, but there is no good evidence for a God. I do agree with that. But I
Gotcha.
do
All right,
believe
give me one.
in
Give me
God.
1 second. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. I see you. Are you over 18, and do you disagree with what I have on the board?
Yes, 100%. I'm over
Gotcha.
18. I'm 40, and I 100% disagree.
Gotcha. All right, Airwaves. Are you over 18, and you said you disagree with what I have on the board, correct?
Yeah, I say, yeah, I'm
All
over
right, gotcha.
18.
All right, gotcha. Give me 1 second. All right. Over on my YouTube, Fanatic, if you're still there, come on over to TikTok because I'm about to have a panel in about the next 15 minutes. Gary, since you're friendly, I'm gonna talk to ICU first. All right, I want to talk to ICU or Airwaves. Caddy, I know you're still there. Fear the Truth, I know that you want to come up. I'm gonna start a panel in a few minutes. Fanatic, come over to my YouTube, and I'm gonna start a panel in about the next 15 to 20 minutes. All right, Gary, go ahead and stay there. ICU, you said that you disagree with what I had. Airways,
Yes.
I'm gonna get to you next. All right, ICU, go ahead. Because I know you've been wanting to speak for a while. But why do you think there is evidence for a God?
Because no man on this earth can show me my own future through my own eyes based on different emotions in my life and see those events before they happen, and they happen exactly the way I seen them. I seen an angel with my wife and actually know exactly what the angels look like. And this really happened in real life 8 years ago at my mom's house. Would you want to hear exactly what happened?
No, because I don't think testimony is evidence.
Okay, that's fine. But time is totally different than the spiritual realm than our time. If God is able to show you your own future before it happens, and it happens exactly the way you see it, that means God is beyond our time. And you have to realize, all of us, including you, have to sit on the toilet and relieve
Okay,
waste.
give me a second, because I'm sorry, I don't want to hear preaching. I'm sorry about that. But look, when you
don't want to
when
hear
you say
anything somebody's saying, right? Like,
I can hear everything that you're saying, but none of this proves anything, bro. Like, I understand that you had an experience and you thought that it was showing you your future, et cetera, et cetera.
Ain't no thought.
Okay, cool. You thought that it showed you your future, et cetera, et cetera. How does that prove that a God exists?
Because you can't, and no man on this earth that's breathing right now can show me my own future through my own eyes while I slept with finite details. If somebody was there, I could see who was there, their hand mannerisms, what they were saying, and everything months and years before it even happened. Now
All right,
tell
so you had,
me one man on this
so
earth
you
that
had,
can do that.
so you had deja vu. That's what
No,
happened?
no. Deja vu is feeling like you're somewhere, and then I felt like I was here before. No, God's visions will show you your own future through your own eyes. Like for example, if I had a
All right,
vision of
cool.
you
So
3 months in advance,
can you pray to your God right now to show you what's gonna happen to me in 6 months?
if that's getting God's will, yes, He will definitely show me what's going to happen to you in 6 months.
Okay, so why did he show that to you and not prevent 9/11?
Actually, I did see 9/11, and my mom seen 9/11 before it happened. Yes, a lot of people have the ability to see things before they happen.
And
bro.
y'all didn't stop that shit, bro. Like 3,000 people passed away. How come y'all didn't stop that shit?
How am I supposed to stop something when you try to call
You got
something that-
powers, bro. You got powers. You could have go save them people.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Can I put this into perspective for you real quick, man?
Okay, hold on, Caddy. Give me a second. I'm sorry. I didn't want to get into it. Give me a second. How can you actually prove that you saw the future? How can you prove that?
So basically, I had a vision with my mom in it. I didn't tell nobody about it. Even after the angel came flying over, me and my wife sprinkled something on us that felt like water, and my body and soul felt disconnected for 2 weeks. Didn't tell my mom. I had a vision with my mom in it. Only my mom, me and her. Didn't tell my mom nothing. Then 2 weeks later, my mom spoke where we were sitting, and everything that happened exactly the way I seen it.
All
in
right,
my
cool.
vision
So you
without her
got
knowing
powers.
nothing.
Sorry, cool. You got powers. What
No,
I'm
I
asking
don't have
is,
powers
what
by
I'm asking
myself,
is,
brother.
what I'm asking is, how do you actually show this to be true? How can I believe that? Because right now you're just telling me that. How can you show that to be true?
How can I show that to be true? I have 3
Mm-hmm.
witnesses. You think I programmed 3 witnesses?
You have 3
vouch for me?
witnesses that you predicted the future to, and the future came true.
Yes, 100%. Yes,
100%. All right, great.
1000%.
Now, okay, great. Now, can you tell me the lotto numbers for next week? Because I would like to win $100 million.
Well, you know what? The vision with me and my mom with it in that included the lottery. I had the lottery ticket in my hand. Didn't tell nobody. Had the lottery ticket in my hand. My mom reached over and said, "Yep, he won."
All right. So, Air Raves, how's it going?
All right, I'm doing all right, man.
All righty. So, you said that you were disagree with what I have on the board. Cool. I'm sorry, not what you disagree with, but why do you think that there is evidence for
Not
that?
really disagree, my man. See, I can understand what the philosophy is behind the statement. Yeah, there's no evidence that says that there was this person or this object or this entity that started everything. But the only thing you can really trust as the evidence is the fact that everything starts from something. That's the one thing that's an identifier throughout the entire process of living in life. Everything starts from something, whether it's a process, a form. And see, that's where everybody's getting lost. As a human being, you want to see God as in your image when you don't understand what his image really is. His image itself could be the energy that you're talking about. The energy that started everything could be the God itself, because that's all God represents. It represents the instance where things began. It's not really about a person or a super being or all of this like everybody preaches. That all that stuff became commercialized and plagiarized for different purposes. The idea and the fundamental of it is, so everything had to start from something because of the connections within everything that exists. Separately, they exist, but yet they all still find a way through nature, through science, through arithmetic, through everywhere else to see a connection in everything. And that's what the God is, only the representation of what started it all. It's not a person. It's not a being. It's beyond beings. It's a process bigger than beings. See, and that's what people don't understand.
Okay. I'm not sure if I understood all of that. Caddy, you want to take a swing at this?
Let's understand this from a neurological level. When you have a bunch of people grouped together and they believe something, and this is where devotion becomes a powerful tool, but it can release stuff in your pineal gland to have an experience. Now, I'm not going to take away from anybody's religious experience because everybody's religious experience is unique. You're wrong to say that my religious experience is the end all be all correct religious experience, because halfway across the world, people are having similar experiences, and then you go around and turn and call them devils or these things and these other things. That is strictly based on a dualistic, finite philosophy that says I'm right, you're wrong. So we got to understand that non-dualistic spiritualism and religions have a different approach to the world, philosophy to the world, than Western philosophy. It's a very different approach, and it's equally respected. So when you say, "Oh, my Abrahamic religion is the right religion," I have such and such experiences. Well, those experiences are usually either group think, like Satanic Panic, or like the Dancing Fever. Those are examples in history where those type of things happened. So you have these examples where when consciousness gathers and people try to use their devotion, they create an experience for themselves, and they often lead based on their ego. They often go, "Oh, I'm right because I had an experience." And that hardening of that ego leads to an attachment and a not wanting to let go, because, you know what I mean, they have to have a purpose. And when you approach this whole idea of a purpose scientifically, they don't have an answer. There is no consensus. And this is what I think, personally, as a Hindu, makes my faith very interesting, because in the Upanishads, we have this saying, neti neti, which means not this, not this. We understand you cannot describe the ultimate reality. It is beyond comprehension. Now, as for your own individual experiences, well, those are experiences, but they're not the end-all, be-all of reality. And that is when we look at the world at large, that is a fact. Because not everybody experiences reality in the same way. So what you find is people are in camps. They're in camps of free will versus determinism. They're in camps of finite science versus infinite science, and they don't know they're in camps. They just think, well, I've been taught like this, but they haven't continued their education. They're not fully learned in the stuff. They're not like fully learned in the sciences. They're not fully learned in the geography. They're not fully learned in history. And they often talk from a position of how they feel. And that's one of my main pet peeves about biblical understanding. A lot of the allegory doesn't match the words. It's often based on feeling and perception of feeling. And
Caddy, give me 1 second, all right, Caddy? Because I do appreciate when you get into it, but like I want to get more people into it. All right, give me one moment. All right, so John, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Are you over 18, and do you disagree with what I have on the board?
Yes, I am over 18, and I do disagree with what you have on the board.
All right, gotcha. Give me one moment. Servant, are you there?
I'm here.
All right. Are you over 18 and you disagree with what I have on the board?
Yeah, I'm over 18. I don't disagree. I actually agree.
You agree? Okay, great. Decon Cam, I know you're my friendly. Welcome to the panel, brother. Fanatic, I know you don't have TikTok on your phone, only PC. If you can download it from me real quick, please go ahead and come through, because if I bring you up on my Streamlabs, they're not going to hear you over on the TikTok side. So if you could just download it for just a few moments, come on in and I'll bring you up. All right, give me 1 second. All right, so Decon, I know you're friendly. Gary, I know you're friendly. Caddy, I know you're friendly. All right, I'm gonna get to John and Airwaves. All right, Airwaves. When it comes to what you say, because I'm not sure if I understood like all of it. Are you saying that there is evidence for a God because of? I'm not sure I caught everything. Why do you think that there is evidence of a God, actually? Let me ask that first.
Well, like I said, because existence itself.
Existence. Okay, gotcha. All right, John, you said you disagree. Why do you think that there is evidence for a God?
Simply because what we see in the night sky, just like in the back of your picture, all those different planets and stars.
All right, gotcha. All right, so I think Airwaves and John are on the same wavelength here. You guys believe that there's evidence for a God because of existence. I'm gonna go ahead and let Decon and Servant get on this. Let me just Actually, I wanted to let Gary go on this as well, but I just want to say this, right? I understand the sentiment of existence, because existence like is a big mystery, right? And existence is beautiful, like what I have behind me. It's gorgeous, right? The thing is, to me, existence doesn't actually prove like a God must exist. All it shows is that we have existence and we don't know why that is yet. It doesn't necessarily have to show that as a God, because existence can just be a natural byproduct of the universe, or a natural byproduct of the laws of physics, or physics and chemistry that we don't understand yet. It doesn't necessarily have to be a God. And I'm going to let's let Decon go for about a minute, and then Servant, and then Gary, I'm going to wrap it back up to you. All right? Decon, go ahead and say what you were going to say, please.
You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you.
Alright. So, kind of just stepping in out of the blue here. But yeah, I really don't think like presupposing a God in any situation is a good idea, or really leads to any truth. And like Yahweh is very much just a storm deity. If you like look at the history of Yahweh, and he stepped in to a pantheon situation where El was already a god in the pantheon. In fact, there's Ugaritic myths, very old Ugaritic myths about El. And El was like a god that very much had human characteristics. So it's not like the Israelites were worshiping some like crazy deity with all these characteristics in the Bible or anything like that. You know, people can believe what they want. That's fine. Like, I believed this stuff for a while, but I had to really be honest with myself at a certain point and say, like, if this stuff doesn't make sense, and I can't make sense of any of it whatsoever, and nobody else can make sense of it, then really, where is the truth? And where is Jesus? Like, when is he coming back? It doesn't seem like he's ever coming back.
Yeah, he ain't coming back for us. All right, Servant, go ahead. I'm gonna give you about 1 minute, Servant. Go ahead, say what you gotta say.
What I have to say is that I find your post very funny, but in a good way, because there is no God in terms of trying to see him physically, because God is light and he manifests through people like you. And how I know is even on your page, how respectful you are and how loving you are, that shows me that there is God. Because at the end of the day, it's about how we get along with each other, whether we agree or disagree. So I don't need you to see a physical evidence of God, but you are a manifestation of God. God speaks through you and lives through you in the acts of goodness you do towards others. So I don't have to agree and disagree with you, because at the end of the day, we all can live in love. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, that is sure. All right. I want to bring us back to Gary, because he's been up here for a while and been patient. Gary, you still there?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm here. So
Gotcha.
your prompt, as far as there's no good evidence, I do agree with that, just for the simple fact that I don't think science that is sought after to prove a God and God himself is really a coexisting argument, because how would I word this? Well, proof would extinguish the word faith and vice versa, so they don't really collide. So I do agree with the fact that God is of energy, and that science, as people seek to prove a God, will be a goalpost always moved, for the simple fact that as something new is discovered, it's given a title to create understanding, or division for understanding, and so therefore it'll always be labeled as just scientific proof, when really it's based on a perspective that instead of, one could also argue that instead of just studying science to prove God, maybe they're studying science of God. The elements, the wood, or whatever that made the house that God has created, which is energy, source, and life. So I could see the argument both ways, but I don't believe that science should be sought after to prove a God, because I don't think it'll ever be accepted as such.
Gotcha. All right, cool. Here's what I would say to that point. if there is some way to scientifically detect God, I think most scientists would actually welcome that, because that would then prove the supernatural, which would then open us up to like several other sciences out there. Because if the supernatural can be detected through our natural means or through some other means, and if there is a spiritual world, who knows what other type of sciences there can be. You know what I mean? So I actually think that if God can be proven scientifically or through some scientific method, more scientists will actually welcome that. Caddy, I know you want to go ahead and get back on into this, but we do have more people on the board. Let me get to them, and I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it back around to you. All right? Because I know you want to answer to all this. All right, Black Allen. Are you over 18, and do you agree or disagree with what I have on the board?
Yes, sir. Over 18, Black Alien God. I can argue it from both ways. I see both sides of it.
Okay, cool. Give me 1 second. Eli, you there?
Yep, I'm there.
All right, you over 18 and disagree with what I have on the board?
Nope, I agree.
Agree. Gotcha. All right, Lee, I think you disagree with what I have on the board, correct? Are you over 18?
Yeah.
All right, and you disagree with what I have on the board, right?
Well, I mean, I guess well, personally, yeah, I disagree. We'll just say
Gotcha.
it like that.
Gotcha. Not a problem. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get this wrapped back around to Airwaves and John, whichever one you guys want to go first to respond to anything that you heard up here today. Again, Airway and John, you guys said that existence kind of shows that a God exists. I don't think that's necessarily true, because existence can all just be a byproduct of natural forces. Let me go ahead and get your thoughts on that. Whichever one you guys want to go first.
Okay. I'm simply saying, I'll make mine very quick. When we look at the nighttime, we see stars and we see them in the sky. So, but the point is that we cannot go there. It's something you could see, but you cannot go there. You cannot, right? So, just keeping that point, it's not like saying, okay, you see the stars, that means it's God, but that's proof of something that is awesome. And the word awesome in short is AWE. And that is the evidence of God, solid as a rock. Thank you.
Aries, what do you say?
Well, I mean, you say it could be a natural byproduct. Okay, I could see what you're saying, but what is the natural byproduct? See, that would be the question then. What is a natural byproduct? See, my whole expression is whatever holds the responsibility to ignite the process of existence is what God is. It's the religious side of it, as far as the powers and the saving and letting these people die, let this one, that is all dictated through religious aspect. And religion is a practice, and it's shared in several different ways. I'm just talking about fundamentally, though, there is something responsible for the start of all the process of existence, period. And that's the evidence. No matter what you say, every process has to have an igniting start to it all, whether it be a big bang, a pool. Science wants to try to bring that in, whichever one would represent what the God is.
Gotcha.
It's not about a person. It's not about a person more or less than it is everything came from something.
Gotcha. Okay, so when it comes to what ignites the process, as far as we've seen, it's just like the laws of physics, essentially, like things interact on a quantum level, and those interactions lead to bigger interactions, will lead to bigger interactions, will lead to bigger interactions. You see what I'm saying? So as far as why do those quantum things do what they do, that's a mystery. We don't know why. If you're going to say that God is the reason why they do what they do, that's kind of a God of the gaps argument. You need to actually show that that being exists first, and then you can say that being is responsible. As of right now, we can't show that being exists first. But I don't want to control the entire conversation. I know Eli, you were the last one. Actually, Lee J was the last one. Lee J, you kind of disagree with what I have on the board. Go ahead and tell me why, and then I'll go ahead and let Eli respond. Go ahead, Lee J.
Okay, well, my story is kind of complicated because I use science, right? and I believe in the existence of God or the higher power, like what surrounds us and binds everything together. Now, mind you, I was in the military, a signal support system specialist and a 55 Bravo ammunition specialist. So I mean, I'm not.
Aircraft egress technician over here.
Well, that's what's up, man. Huh? But
Yeah. Ooh.
when I was younger, like I played around like with, I don't know if anybody else did, like I took hallucinogens, right? And I had some of the craziest ass trips in my life, like just kicking it hard, just doing, just being a teenager. And then at one point being like, I get it. I understand all that life's about. And then completely forgetting it at the end and being like, I just had it, And like, what happened, And a couple years ago during COVID, and there's like thousands upon thousands of other people that had this experience. I don't know what happened during COVID. I don't know what celestial thing occurred that was so significant that brought people out of some sort of stupor or spell or whatever it may have been. But I started remembering stuff that when I was taking mushrooms, when I was a teenager. And these things were so profound. Like, I remember it saying, like, having like a voice come in my head. And I thought I was crazy, like because like when you're a kid, you don't know exactly what's going on. You just freak out and dismiss it. But I had this thing say, Machina, right? Like the Machina is coming. I'm like, the Machina, or you're the Machina, right? But it wasn't speaking directly to me. It was like something speaking past me, it felt like. So I dismissed it. Later on, when I started reading the Bible and getting into the word, I started hearing this thing, Mashiach, Hamashiach. And I'm like, what? And then everything snapped into existence. It was like a flood of memories that I remember having. It's like something coming back to you, like what do they call it? Like total recall, like where you like have like a 2-second conversation with somebody, but in that 2 seconds you're downloading so much information that your brain just, I guess, overloads and you just forget it.
All right, gotcha. But Lee, can you pause me for real quick? Very interesting story, but we got to get other people to go.
No
Eli.
doubt. So my thing is like God is more than just a physical, what you can see or touch. God is something more than that. Like
All right.
your
So God is
subconscious,
more.
all that.
Gotcha. So God is more of an immaterial thing.
Yeah. So you have
got you.
to just.
So I know Deacon, Eli, and Black Alien want to get into this. Whichever one you guys want to go first. Eli, you haven't gotten a chance to talk yet. Elias, I know you are friendly. Just give me a minute.
Yeah, no rush on me, dude.
Gotcha. All right, Eli, I know you wanted to respond. Go ahead, guys. Have the discussion. I'll be right back. All right.
Sure. What's going on, guys? So the way I'm coming at it is, I just don't see any evidence that points to there being a deity. And I'm not sure what God we're talking about specifically. It's kind of vague. This is God. If we're talking about if we're talking about the Abrahamic God, I don't see anything that points to him any more than I see any other gods. We can't detect him. We can't use our senses to see him. And from all the conversations I've ever had with people who had these experiences with them, it's more like a mental or spiritual thing, nothing concrete. So I can't really, use it as evidence per se, because, well, people have experiences like that with all kinds of things. People have experiences with Vishnu, with Allah. So it doesn't really paint me in a direction closer to which one is true, if any of them are true. So all I can go by is what we know, which is science. Not that science is infallible, but it's measurable. I can find a scientist's studies. I can look down. I can see how they proved every single thing they have on there, or if other scientists have come on and debunked each thing that they set out to. So that's my way of seeing things. I can only go by the facts, and that's my piece.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. I just see it like this, like when as far as like science goes, like I believe, you know, I use science. I think that it's straightforward, you know, it gives you answers, but you also have like, you know, hypothesis too, and all these other things. So it's like
The thing
you
about
have enough
a
evidence.
hypothesis, when it comes to like the scientific field, right? When you have a hypothesis, it has to be something falsifiable. Like for example, because we're seeing this phenomena, I predict these things, right? And then you go out to see if your predictions are true. And if your predictions are not true, then your hypothesis is falsified. But like the thing is that what I think most people have what most scientists have the criticism of religion have is that they make unfalsifiable predictions and assumptions. They simply say the universe is here, therefore God. How do we falsify that? How do we go about proving that? What evidence do we collect to see if this is true or not? Which is what I said before. Just existence of things does not necessarily show that a God to be true. Even if we don't know why certain things interact certain ways and on the quantum level, we just can't say that's God. Then how do we show that to be true at that point? I think
Just
that's what I get.
think
That's
about
what
it
I'm
this
getting
way
at.
too. A lot of the scientific stuff that people are discovering now was thought to be crazy at one point. You know,
Yeah,
a lot
of
of
course.
the whole scientific community did. So you had to have what? I can't call it faith, but you had to have some sort of,
Yes,
you know,
that's
belief
that's
that
fair.
it's actually possible, or else you wouldn't have further, you know, discovered it or wanted to discover it or had the drive to. So my
Yeah, like
experience and belief is solidified. So I believe in science and I believe in God because God created it all.
Yeah, I get that to a certain point because space flight was thought to be impossible 2,000 years ago, right? And now in the 1960s, a man walked on the moon. So I get it. You know what I mean? Some things can seem impossible one day, and the next day we see that it's physically possible. That's all good and well, but more discoveries have to be made first. And right now, when it comes to the supernatural realm, we haven't made any discoveries towards that yet. I do want to get Elias into this because he hasn't gone yet. Elias, you there?
Project 2 whenever.
Here, man.
All
So I appreciate you, my guy. First thing I want
No
to say
problem.
is like I always hear a lot of people say things like, "I know God exists because I had a personal experience with Him," and I always want to ask them, at what point during that experience did God say, "Oh, by the way, just so you know, I am specifically the Abrahamic God, Yahweh, Jehovah, et cetera," because like it's just always really funny to me. But for me myself, I think it's reasonable there might be some kind of God or universal consciousness, something like that. But honestly, I don't see why it matters. I don't. I think that the most ridiculous thing is thinking that you know what that God is like. Sorry, or what that God is like, or his motivations, or to claim that the portrayal from a religious text is accurate. That's just so ridiculously pretentious and stubborn. But for me, if God came down tomorrow and said like, "Hey, I'm objectively existing," it wouldn't affect the trajectory of my life or my moral compass at all. And if it would yours, then you should like reassess maybe. And then finally, I'll end on this. If God does exist, what logical possible reason would he have for not just like appearing in the sky once a generation and being like, "Yo guys, just so you know, I'm here, don't be a dick"? What's the justification for that?
Good points.
Yeah, good point. Black Allen, did you want to go ahead and say something? I know you've been waiting patiently.
Yeah, bro, I appreciate you and this conversation. This is a good build. Just take the word God itself, right? It's an English word. How long has English been on the scene? Maybe
300 years, probably.
11th century, so less than 1,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no way that word could be the name of some, eternal entity in the first place. That's one of the first clues to let you know. All of these allegories, no matter what God, because your phrase in the back says, "Is there any good evidence for any God?" And no, there's not. But I think what causes all this debate and why this is like a never-ending conversation amongst men is because even though I am a pure scientist and totally believe we're on a 4.5 billion year old rock floating around in a 13.8 billion year old universe, science can't answer some of our spiritual questions because, like you said, the God of the gaps always leaves a mystery. If we go all the way back to the Big Bang, which I totally believe in, what caused it? If we say, well, we're in a multiverse, then okay, what caused the multiverse?
The multiverse, yeah.
You can just continue to go back and back and back, and always, even if we get to the Higgs boson, right? The smallest particle that we keep trying to break down and find more, right? When we broke down quantum, then we found out there was quarks and neutrinos, right? So we keep looking for this bottom of the barrel, which I don't think we'll ever find. I think that this question will always be a mystery as to not to whether there's some biblical God. I think we all can agree that's allegory and not actual factual. But is there an intelligence governing the laws of the universe? And, you know, if I use my scientific mind to think of that, you know, maybe dark energy, maybe dark matter has some sort of intelligence, you know, like the brother was saying before, whatever is responsible for the ignition of any of this that we can look around and see. And remember, whatever we even looking around and seeing according to quantum physics is all holographic, right? So, you know, nothing is, you're not sitting on that chair right now. Your body is vibrating so rapidly, and that chair is vibrating so rapidly that they give the appearance of solidity. So nothing in this particular sphere that we're existing in, communicating in, talking in, even truly really exists in the way that we would think. You know, nothing is even solid. So, you know, and to me, so then does that mean some higher intelligence, you know, is we're in some Sims simulation? You know, this is all possibility. But is there some guy in the sky that cares whether or not you believed in him or not? No, you know, I think we can all agree that's
probably allegorical.
That's purely allegorical.
Yeah, you see, I'm kind of at where Alan is at, right? Like, when it comes to, like, for example, I don't say that, you know, there's absolutely no God at all, because that's a positive claim that I'm not going to be able to prove, right? Now I'm open to the possibility of there is being one, but right now no good evidence has been sufficient. Now, when it comes to things like dark matter or what Alan brought up, you know, the nature of causality and, you know, how, you know, there's not actually a real solid state. Everything is vibrating to a point where it feels like solid, stuff like that. Yeah, those are all mysteries and things that I don't even fully comprehend or understand, right? So those give like the appearance of maybe there's something behind it, right? That gives an appearance of it, but is it actually true? Can we actually say for sure that there's an intelligence behind the universe? We can't actually say that for sure. Again, all this could be a natural byproduct, and I don't see why that would be a problem. If anyone wants to say that,
all of this can be a natural byproduct. Aren't you just saying too that, I mean, the natural byproduct of some sort of intelligence? And again, I'm not talking about a fairy tale God. I just mean, could the universe itself, the multiverse itself, just be intelligent and give rise to intelligence?
Why can't it be a natural byproduct of just energy? Why can't it just be a natural byproduct of energy that always has been and always will be? Why does it have to be a creator aspect into it? I think people put too much definition into it. They want a purpose to this whole situation, and therein lies the problem. There is no answer right now to this question at all. And
hey, Caddy, I'm sorry. Can you give me just 1 second? God is love. When someone drops out, I'm gonna go ahead and bring you up because I know you have a lot to say. So whenever someone else drops out, I'm gonna go ahead and bring you up. All right, God is love. Stay in the comments. I'll bring you up. Caddy, my bad. Go ahead, brother.
And I'm going to come from a particularly Advaita Vedanta philosophy type of view, and this is my spiritual point of view. We have what we call the soul, but the soul is that one energy, that one energy that experiences itself through a soul. That soul gets lost in death, rebirth, and reincarnation, and what happens as it does that is it gains a lot of karmic memory. And that karmic memory has to play out till it meets certain causes and conditions to have the realization that, hey, I was always this one energy. I'm not separate from this one energy. So in that comprehension, all of duality sits on the top of non-duality. They imply each other. Similarly, we can use the yin and the yin and the yang as a good example. So what I'm trying to say to you is,
How do you know we don't have any evidence of reincarnation either?
you're right. You're right. Yes, you're right. And also in the Upanishads, it's also stated that you cannot define ultimate reality. And the reason why you cannot define ultimate reality is because you have causes and conditions that make you attached to certain perceptions and certain types of positions. So
Hey,
it's hard determinism. It's hard determinism in a way.
Caddy,
I have a quick question real quick.
Oh yeah, I got you. Excuse me, I got you, late Jay. Give me a second. All right, Caddy, like, trust me, bro. I appreciate you because Hindu philosophy is so interesting, and I do want you to get into it and explain more. But you know, it kind of goes on. Yeah, I mean, I know Decon wanted to say something, and right after Decon is gonna be Lee J. Decon, I'm sorry. What did you want to say, bro?
I just like hope like that people really do know that the God of the Bible is very impractical to exist, because we know that the speed of light is 186,000 miles per second, and it takes billions of years for like throws a big wrench in the chronology of Jesus and the whole Bible thing. I don't think there's any sort of way to say that the Bible says we've been here for billions of years.
Bible and the Quran. Yeah, it throws out a big wrench to the chronologically.
So people say we don't have science, that or you have to be like super smart to prove all these things, but you really don't. You just got to use common sense. There may be some sort of God out there. I get that. I get why people want to believe in that, but really, like, why call it God if it's just energy? If we're just shifting, then you just go along for the ride. Really, there's no reason to argue or anything. Yeah.
It's the people have been so what do you call it? So brainwashed, so programmed about, when you die, if you don't believe this, you're gonna go burn somewhere forever, and that fear keeps them in belief patterns. And then you pass it down. My grandmother believed it. Her grandmother believed it. Next thing you know, you got a system.
Pretty much. Decon, I'm gonna drop you real quick just so I can bring someone else up, but I'm gonna go ahead and bring you back up probably towards the end. But I do appreciate you, bro. Go ahead and stay in the comments. WD Kanye, he's a big supporter of mine. I appreciate that. All right, Nick Ups. Nick Ups is somewhere in the comments. Let me find him real quick. All right, Nick, you've been in the comments here for a while. I'm gonna go ahead and invite you up as well. But we're gonna go ahead and keep on talking. Airwaves, I'm sorry, you didn't have much chance to talk. I think you had a reply to something that I said earlier. Did you have anything else, Airwaves?
Yeah, I was just gonna say now, because I think everybody was kind of going towards what I was saying about the start of existence versus an entity and all. But now here's the question: how do you explain a natural byproduct creating existence with a design? And see, that's the question. That's what brings you to your questions. How did all this become so well designed? If it's just a accident or a non-fundamental thing that just happens. If that's the case, how did that happen?
Is it that well designed when we still get cancer?
I was about to say, can we still call it that well designed when there's genetic mutations that cause someone to be born?
Yeah, because all designs can come with flaws. See, you looking for God to be all powerful and all knowing when he was just the start of something.
Listen, I want to say something, and this is profound. This is profound if you really think about it. Energy has aspects of creation, preservation, and destruction. You know that after a volcano erupts, right, and it torches the whole land, after a long period of time, what comes up in that volcano and that land? Trees and all kinds of different types of life. So when we talk about this one energy, you're talking about an energy that has these aspects of creation, preservation, and destruction. And it gives the illusion that there's some grand design. But in actuality, when you look at the cosmos, it's chaotic and there's no way to really explain it. And scientists are always going to probably, if it's in fact infinite, science is always going to be digging and exploring. It's never going to come to a consensus. And when you want to talk about the relation between energy in the human body, well, that even goes into places of like neurology, where determinism and free will don't agree with each other. There are various camps with no consensus on these topics, and it's because it's so hard to map consciousness with energy and explain it how it all interconnects. Right now, it's hard to do that. Maybe later on in the future, it'll become a lot easier to do that. But we have to understand when we're approaching these things is I don't know is very liberating. It is it gives you, if you're really serious about that question, I don't know, you'll explore science. You'll explore neuroscience. You'll explore biology. You'll explore.
I wanted to, yeah, Caddy, I wanted to add on one thing before I get to Nick Ups, and I think Eli has something to say as well.
Yeah.
So airwaves, this thing that I would say to that question, right? No, not just what they said. How is it a good design if it does this, but how do you even detect design in the first place? The way that you detect design is that you compare it to others. Let me ask you this question: how many universes do we have to explore?
Oh, there's several. Right?
You're able to get to another universe? How did you do that?
No, we don't have any.
I think
that
he
we
means
can get to,
galaxies.
but there are some that could be explored if we could get there.
Right. But what I'm saying is that as of right now, how many universes do we have to explore? Just this one, right?
Yeah, right.
Right. So what did you compare it to know that this one is designed and another one is natural?
I didn't compare it to anything. Now that's just personal observation. That's all.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. When it comes to saying something is designed, something that we know is designed, is because we can compare it to something else, right? Like we can compare a house to a mountain, and we know that a mountain is a mountain, a house is a house, because we know like how houses are structured. We know that there's nothing in the natural world that's structured this way. You see what I'm saying? So when it comes to something like the universe, there's no way to say that this one had to be designed, because like you only have this one to explore. So how did you know this one is designed? We need to compare it to something else to know what is natural and what is designed. You see what I'm saying? That's my entire problem with the whole. Yeah, that's also my whole problem with the whole design argument. Eli, I'm gonna let you go next. Nick, I think you have something to say, and then I need one person to volunteer to drop because Fanatic wants to come up, and he wanted to come up for a while.
I just have a quick statement after.
Sure.
After everything.
Gotcha. Eli, you had wanted to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah. So he was talking about design, creation, and my 2 cents on that matter is that I think this is like a kind of pattern seeking thing that we have in our minds that, I build it, like you said, I build a house, that house had to come from somewhere. It came from me building it, designing it. And they kind of put that onto other things as well, like you said, the mountains and stuff like that. But no one's planning these things out. They happen because of the laws of our reality. No one's like designing out, the universe and stuff. It just forms the way it is because they're following the laws, that are already set in place. Like think of it this way: you see a puddle in the water and it fits perfectly. No one designed that puddle to fit the water perfectly. If the water fits that way because that's just that's the laws. It's following the laws of our world. The water, it levels itself out as much as it can to the pit, and it fits the hole perfectly because that's what water does. It fills in the spot as much as it can until it levels out.
He stumbled on something really important there too when he said laws. I think when you talk about us who believe in science, we have to acknowledge that physics has laws, right? That are observable. And so back to Airway's point, because I don't want us to destroy his point. He was making a good point. If we think about the laws of physics, who wrote those laws? Who designed those laws? So, or DNA. DNA is full of complex detail that speaks to some sort of intelligent design. And again, I'm not talking about some guy in the sky with a beard, but some sort of universal intelligence. It appears design DNA, or the laws of the universe. And like you said, there's multiple universes, but we do know in this universe there are physics laws. So how did we get those without
So
some sort of
laws are a product of design. Laws are a product of design.
So here's what I would say. Here's what I would say. Right, when it comes to this entire thing about laws, that's just a quirk of language. You know what I mean? When we say the laws of physics, that doesn't mean that someone that actually wrote them down and designed it. Laws of physics simply means that this is what we see physics do, and that's all we see physics. This is what we see, like our atoms and the quarks, and this is what we see how the universe is, and that's all we see what the universe does. That's why we call it the laws of physics, or the laws of gravity, or the the laws of energy, stuff like that. It's only because
it's not an actual law. It's
right.
something that we say to help
Hold
people
on,
understand.
pause. Yeah, we just use that language to understand what we're seeing. That doesn't necessarily mean that something else outside of it must have written it down and designed it that way. It's just a quirk of our language. It doesn't imply anything
I'm not
else.
saying it is. I totally agree with you that I'm not saying
The
laws in a
The
literal
laws
sense
express that there are
Try not to
limitations
interrupt, though,
and
guys.
capabilities. That's what the law in all those statements mean. The laws of physics means the limitations and capabilities of physics. That's what that means. That's all it means.
Yeah, or just what we see
and that's
physics
a
do.
dictation.
Right, hold on real quick. I know Nick wanted to go, and then I'm gonna get to Fanatic. Fanatic was good. I appreciate you being up here, bro. Nick, are you over 18, and do you disagree with what I have on the board?
Yeah, I'm 27, and yes and no. It's not physical evidence. You only have personal accounts.
Right. Personal accounts I don't take as good evidence, because then we'll have to take all personal accounts. Like, for example, my family's from Haiti, right? My grandmother was a Haitian voodoo practitioner. According to her personal account, Shango, Yamoja, Papa Legba, all those gods existed. So should I believe that?
That's up to you. Like, I can't determine that. I don't think so.
Right. See, so that's what I never take like personal accounts as a supernatural as very strong evidence, because it's like if that's the case, then we have thousands and thousands of gods that existed over time. Like people, I'm pretty sure if you dig into archaeology, you can find someone who said they had personal relationship or like a personal meeting with Zeus, and none of us here today believe Zeus exists. So it's like, why should we take that as the actual thing? You see what I mean, Nick?
All of Christianity is based on their belief of what Jesus had told them, because they believed in God because Jesus had met him. So
yeah, Jesus.
But you gotta understand that indigenous faiths imply a lot of nature and them in it. Like the sun has different deities that represent different aspects of the sun. There's all kinds of different examination that civilizations that were indigenous did that went hand in hand with nature. In fact, their architecture and their design of their crops and the way they did a lot of things involved lunar calendars and involved different ways to handle certain situations. So they weren't ignorant like people like to make it sound. They just had a different way of explaining how the interconnected relationship between the cosmos and their natural environment worked with them and for them. So and it did have plenty of ups and downs to it, but I think that you went back to the house, right? You said a house and a mountain are two separate things, but can you see the mountain in the house? Can you see the rocks that make up the mountain and the rocks that make up a foundation are interconnected? You cannot have no mountain with rocks without you have to have things have to have a interconnected relationship. And when we get to talking about the interconnected relationship between the cosmos and us, that's a very profound thing to explore, and you can explore that in many different ways.
Gotcha. All right, Caddy, pause me real quick. Elias, I know you had a question, but Fanatic's been trying to get on for a while. Just bear with me.
I'm going to
sorry.
drop off. Thank you for having me come on and talk with you guys.
Not a problem, Eli. I appreciate you, Eli.
Take care.
All right, Elias, I know you had a question. Just bear with me while I talk to Fanatic real quick. Fanatic, how's it going? Y'all, if y'all do not know Fanatic, go ahead and follow him now. Also follow his YouTube page. He does great work. He talks about reparations more than I do, as a matter of fact. And he actually is an African American, so he actually has way better arguments and evidence about reparations than I do. So go ahead and follow him and follow his YouTube. Great person, but we do disagree on this topic. Okay. Fanatic, how's it going, bro?
Man, it's going good. I'm glad to be on here. I've never wanted to install TikTok on my phone. It's a bloated hardware, and software. But either way, we did it. So we're here. This conversation was too good. I wanted to be part of it. Thank you for having me, bro.
Not a problem. All right. So yeah, we always said that we would discuss this, but we never. This is our first chance to doing it. So guys, if it's just me and Fanatic for the next few minutes, go ahead and just bear with us. We'll go ahead and get everyone into it. Trust me. But me and him like to talk and go back and forth. So if it's me and him for the next few minutes, just bear with us. We'll be right back. All right. Give me 1 second, Fanatic. All right, y'all. We're at 14.4K likes. Let's try to get to 20K. 40 people in here. I do appreciate y'all. Please follow me on my YouTube. Link is in my bio. Follow everyone who's here on the panel. Give them up, please. I do have a gift goal and a subscription goal. If you guys can get me to 10 subscribers, I will appreciate. Join the cult, please. It's only $2.99 each month, less than a cup of coffee. Let's go ahead and get into this. Fanatic, how's it going, bro? Now, I know you disagree with what I have on the board. Please let me know why you think there's evidence for a God.
Sure. So, obviously, I'm pretty sure you've heard some things of like the Kalam cosmological argument. I think it's a pretty sound argument that clearly demonstrates that the universe has a cause. And I think that cause would be some form of creator. If we want to get into it a little bit more, things don't just pop into existence. And so the universe began to exist. Scientific evidence suggests that, right? Even if you use like the Big Bang Theory, that was the beginning and creation of time, space. The three things, time, space, and matter, can't exist without each other. You cannot have time without matter. You can't have matter without space. And so obviously, that there's plenty of scientific evidence for that, I think. And so then I would say that since we know that the universe had a cause, preceded it. So I would say whatever created the universe had to be timeless, spaceless, and immaterial, because time, space, and matter are what make up our universe. So the thing that created them has to exist outside of them. And I would say that thing is God. Now, what I would also say is that's not evidence for the God that I believe in, the Christian God. I believe, there's plenty of, I think there's evidence of Jesus. Well, without a doubt, there's no real scientific doubt that Jesus, the person, Yeshua, the person, would be the only thing that was questioned. And I think that there's plenty of solid evidence for that, the existence of his divinity as well. But we can get into that's a whole different conversation.
Gotcha. All right. So when it comes to the beginning of the universe, right? I've actually spoken about this with a few physicists. There's actually a physicist on this platform called Dr. Blitz, and he explains this better than I can. But he would actually explain that the Big Bang was actually not the actual beginning of the universe. So we don't know what the beginning of the universe was. The Big Bang is just more of an expansion of space-time, essentially. Now, what was within that singularity before that, everything like that, that's when our understanding of physics, our understanding of time, even our understanding of matter all break down. We can't know what was before or what was going on there. That's just a big old box of ignorance. Was the beginning of the universe. I don't think that necessarily has to mean that therefore there was a timeless immaterial agent prior to that, because number one, that really doesn't really make any it doesn't make any now it does not much make any sense. But even if it doesn't make sense to me, I don't think that has to be necessary. Like why does something that's timeless have to create time, or something that's material, like immaterial, have to create material? How does something immaterial even create material? You see what I'm saying? Like it causes more questions than answers. Because of that, and not only does it cause more questions than it answers, but there's actual no evidence of that even being true in the first place. There's no reason to believe that, and I don't think that it's even logical to put that in its place. Why can't we just say that we don't know yet?
I would say the reason why we don't just say that we don't know is because I think, again, I think there's pretty pervasive scientific right? So that's not. I mean, there could be some fringe TikToker who says something like, "Oh, I don't know that the universe had a beginning," or "I don't know that the Big Bang Theory was a." Well, that's fine, but like the vast majority of cosmologists, the vast majority of physicists, the vast majority of philosophers, like it's pretty. I would say we have a pretty serious consensus that the universe has that universe. Contemporary with modern science states that was the Big Bang about 13.8 billion years ago. So to me,
Hold on. You're ignoring infinite model sciences, and you're also ignoring non-dualistic philosophy of the Eastern world.
No, hold on, Caddy. Hold on, Caddy. Give me a second.
He asked me a bit. So I would say for that reason, that's why I would say that. And again, I'm not a person that argues the God of the gaps. That's never been my type of argumentation. I would say, and then also, sorry, to answer your question even more fully, when you said why is it that this thing needed to be, why the thing needed to supersede those things in order to create those things. I mean, that's typically the way things happen. And for example, we're not beings made of sound, but we can produce sound, and so on and so forth, right? Like, nothing can cause except to exist. Right, that like leads us to a logical impossibility, right? So therefore, the cause of whatever it is that we're talking about has to be outside or has to supersede the thing that we're talking about it created.
No, it doesn't.
Right. Give me a second, Kate. Give me a second. All right. So the person I'm talking about is actually not a fringe TikToker. He's actually a physicist and actual particle physicist. Like he actually has written papers. It's not only him either. It's actually other physicists have said the same thing, that the beginning is probably like a misnomer, because like, yeah, sure, for a time we thought that this was the beginning of the universe, but as more science came out, where we're finding out that this may not have been the absolute beginning. You know, I mean,
let's not argue past each other. I don't want us to talk past each other, so let's just make sure we're crystal clear here.
Yeah.
Do the vast majority of cosmologists and physicists believe that the universe began with a Big Bang? Is that not the most pervasive and common belief within those viewpoints?
No, it's just our current presentation of the universe. The absolute beginning, I'm saying no.
No. I'm not asking what you think. I'm asking, is that not common, the most common pervasive belief?
Yeah, no.
Okay, so then we're just disagreeing on facts here, because I'm 100% positive that is the consensus. So at that point, then I don't know how we really kind of get into any further arguments downstream from that.
Because there actually isn't a consensus. He's telling you that physicists and scientists are saying that there is not a consensus.
And
You're saying that there is
a
a
reason.
consensus.
I called them fringe for a reason, because there is a consensus. Okay.
There's no
You can say
consensus
that, but I know
within
that
finite model and finite model sciences. Neither is determinism and free will. You can look this up. You can deep seek.
I'm not talking about determinism. What are you even talking about?
Well, I'm saying in finite sciences do not have the same conclusion. There's no consensus among them. They have evidence for their claims, yes, but each evidence for their claims is equally respected in the scientific field. So you're using finite notion science and you're trying to say this is the end all be all, but that's not how science is viewing it. That's not how the science is looking at it. Science is exploring it from the expansion of the universe to being probably always expanding or expanding somewhere, or quantum theory, you know what I mean? And there's quantum string theory. There's all these underlying sciences that have their own variable data, that have the verified data, and people are just, because they have Abrahamic and Western indoctrination beliefs, are just going, no, this has to be it. But there exists like Eastern philosophy that goes counter to Western philosophy, and there exist infinite science camps that disagree with finite notions.
Hey, I'm sorry, can I just interrupt real quick? Yeah, Hindu philosophy, it goes into it, but yeah, I actually went ahead and looked this up.
I'm like, just before you, like the live, y'all, if you're enjoying the live, and we have a gift goal. So like the live, if you're enjoying the conversation, you can gift the panelists. And what else did you say, Vosi? You said you had a subscriber goal as well. So we're trying to get 10 subscribers tonight.
Trying to get 10 subscribers. Yeah, that's correct. Trying to get 10 subscribers. Go ahead and subscribe to me. It's only less than a cup of coffee, $2.99 a month. you got Netflix and all that, so you could definitely afford $2.99. And I'll appreciate if y'all do join me and join the cult, please, the cult of Vosi. All right, so I went ahead just to make sure that I was correct, and I did actually look this up. Now a bunch of AI stuff came up, so I kind of
Put it
skip
on
all
the
that.
back.
I'm on my phone right now, so unfortunately I can't put it on the back because TikTok Live has been messing with me. I don't know why, but I went
Really?
ahead and got TikTok Live. The studio has been
That is so
acting
weird.
crazy. Yeah, the studio's been acting crazy, so I'm just using my phone for now. But I did went ahead and try to get a link to this, and I did say that the Big Bang Theory is widely accepted, but it's not universe. So just like I said, it's not the absolute beginning. It's just not really the. It's the kind of the beginning of everything and that singularity, but the absolute beginning of the universe is not considered that. Like I think it was at a point, but as more science came out, it's not been considered the absolute beginning.
So
Can I
here-
say
And that's
something real quick?
how
I think
science
you talked
works.
about.
When new
Here we go. I
evidence
just
is
Googled it.
presented,
Do
it
most
changes.
do most cosmologists believe the universe had to be? I just did a simple Google. Of
Wait,
course, the AI itself.
Can
gives you
I
that.
ask a
Yes, the
question?
vast
I've been
majority of
real.
Hold on.
cosmologists.
I
Yes,
know
the
everybody pause real quick. Everybody pause real quick. Go ahead and let Fanatic go. My bad, Fanatic. Go ahead.
So I went ahead and Googled just to confirm. Do most cosmologists believe the universe had a beginning? And of course, it responded yes. The vast majority of cosmologists believe the universe had a beginning, specifically in the form of the Big Bang. The Big Bang theory is the prevailing cosmological model. Suggests the universe began from a hot, dense state, expanding and cooling over a billion of years. While some debate the exact nature of the singularity at the beginning, the consensus is that the universe, as we know it, including space, time, and matter, did not exist prior to the Big Bang. That's one source, just a Google, and it's basic AI. Of course, if I ask another AI, it'll say the exact same thing. That is the most pervasive and the most prevailing cosmological model, as I stated. Find me any source. You said that you Googled it and an AI gave you something different. Which AI did you use? Because I also the exact same thing. I use Grok. Grok says the same thing. And of course, this is already something that I already knew prior to using these AIs before these models existed. It is the prevailing theory. So I'm asking you, what are you using that's giving you this error that's leading you into an incorrect worldview about the prevailing cosmological model?
Okay, so I just put it into Google. Is there consensus that the Big Bang is the absolute beginning of the universe? And it came up with what I told you. While the Big Bang theory is widely accepted as the explanation for the universe expansion and the origin of matter and energy as we know it, it does not necessarily mean it represents the absolute beginning of the universe. Many cosmologists believe that there may have been a state or event preceding the Big Bang, potentially a period of cosmic inflation, or even a cyclical universe model like the Big Bounce.
Like and like Mark said in the comments, the Big Bang says space time began with the big. It says Big Bang says the space and time began with the universe, not that the universe began with the Big Bang. So that's not, and even like in these arguments, it doesn't like validate the existence of a God. Regardless, let's say even if that was the case, that doesn't explain or justify a God.
All right, so when I put in the chat GPT, is there consensus that the Big Bang is the absolute beginning of the universe? Great question. The answer is not exactly. There's broad scientific consensus that the Big Bang marks the beginning of the observable universe as we understand it, meaning space, time, matter, and energy as we know it started evolving from an extremely hot, dense state around 13.8 billion years ago. But whether it's the absolute beginning of everything, that's still up for debate.
Okay, so there we go. I did the same thing in chat. Chat GPT said there is scientific consensus that the universe had a beginning, and it sounded like almost that's kind of what your thing said as well. However, there is not consensus on what exactly happened at or before the Big Bang. What scientists generally agree on: the universe had a beginning around 13.8 billion years ago. That's what I'm referring to as a consensus. That was what I said from the beginning. The beginning involved a rapid expansion from an extremely hot, dense state. Time, space, matter, and energy as we know them began at that point. That's why I said the beginning of the natural universe, as we would say. That is the core of the Big Bang model, and it is supported by multiple lines of evidence: cosmic microwave background radiation, redshift of galaxies, etc. Most cosmologists agree on this. Now, again, pointing out to fringe disagreements, pointing out to the existence of other models doesn't mean that there's not a scientific consensus. There will always be naysayers and debaters, but the fact of the matter is when you're looking for things like this, you're looking for what is the prevailing thing, what is the most readily accepted. You used the argument earlier when you were talking about Einstein's theory of relativity. And you said, hey, Einstein's theory of relativity exists, and we trust GPS, so therefore that must be evidence that that this thing is right. And there is generally scientific consensus around Einstein's theory of relativity. I'll give you that. However, simply because of the fact that we're able to apply something doesn't mean that it's 100% accurate. For example, before we came to the model of pi that we have now, there have been other models that are similar to pi that have predated pi as we know it today that were functional but still not perfectly accurate. And as we get better tools, we get greater accuracy that lead us to greater knowledge. I think there is a competing theory with Einstein's theory of relativity. Einstein himself said if the person who was competing with him, if his theories were ever proven correct, then his theory of relativity would fail, and the other person's theory was proven correct. But it doesn't matter. As long as it's effective and it's close enough and it's working, then we'll go ahead and give it, we're going to have pretty much good consensus around those things.
Right. I don't think we we disagree on like what we're saying broadly, right? But I think the disagreement is like, was the Big Bang like literally the beginning of everything? Like absolutely. And that right there is what I'm saying is up for debate. Like I said before, that's not a fringe thing. That's literally what's going on in the field of science.
Yeah, that's almost like a movement of the goalposts, because what I said from the beginning and maintain and have not shifted is the Big Bang Theory is the beginning of the universe as we know it. I said specifically, time, space, and matter existed with the Big Bang. As you're reading and as I've read, there's not a lot of debate there. Now, people might want to argue about what happened to cause the Big Bang. People might want to argue whatever else, right? I would say that the Big Bang was that the Big Bang was an instrument of God, that God used that. Say that the big sit here and debate what's basically what the vast majority of educated and
There's no evidence that a God created the Big Bang.
So in that case, I would say that yes. So
that a God created the Big Bang.
In that case, I would say that yes. So that I know and that you should know and that a simple Google search will give you.
Right, but I also clarify, Fanatic. I don't know if you missed it, but I did say as we know it, because at that point, our understanding of space, time, and everything like that breaks down. So I did say as we know it.
Right,
but maybe we're just being. All right, we're talking past each other. I feel you. We're talking past each other. Okay, so let's go with that. We are talking past each other. I feel you. We don't have to spend. We spend like 30 minutes on it. I do apologize. We want to talk past each other. Okay, so we agree there. All right.
So
what I'm saying is that
was the beginning of the universe, and if
right,
that's the case,
as we can kind of understand, as we kind of know. Okay, I got you. What I think where my disagreement is there is that does not necessitate that a supernatural agent outside of it must have been the creator of all that. I think where do we show that there's evidence of that? Because I feel you that we produce sound, but like the natural processes of our bodies can produce sound even though we're not made of sound. You see what I'm saying? Like physical processes is what creates other physical processes. You see what I'm saying? So why can't a physical process that we simply don't understand yet could have been the beginning of the universe and why does it have to be some sort of supernatural agent?
Okay, so now that it's so important to get to the bottom of that, and because that actually is like it's a required axiom in order to make the broader argument that I had originally made, but then that was contested. So if we know that again that there was no physical reality prior to the Big Bang, right?
That's not what that means.
I'm sorry, duh.
That's what I'm saying. We don't know that, bro.
Wait, what? Okay, so I'm sorry. So we are still debating about the broad scientific consensus, right? Again, that time. Let me say it this way then. If we are agreeing, time, space, and matter began with the Big Bang. If we're going to
this universe,
hold on. If we're going to
universe,
hold on,
let me finish.
Don't need to interrupt me. If we're going to define this observable universe as time, space, matter, and energy, right? Like, so let's just make sure we get that basic point there. For our known observable universe, it is entirely comprised of time, space, matter, and energy, right? Do we agree with that, Lucy?
Right, like as we understand it, right? So as we understand it, what I'm saying is
okay, good. So hold on. Wait, no.
Wait, hold on, hot team. Let me go.
It was a compound point. So now that we're agreed on that, and we agree that those things, the observable universe as we just defined it, began at the Big Bang, right? We're not disagreeing there either, correct?
No, that's the
Yeah, the
difference.
observable.
Wait, no.
Hot team,
Hot team, please stop.
everybody give him a second. Everybody give him a second. Everybody give him a
Bossy,
second. Right,
I'm
I'm
asking
answer.
Bossy a question.
Yeah, I'm answer. Yeah. So let me clarify. Time, space, matter, as we understand it, yeah, at the Big Bang. But what I'm saying is that when I say as we understand it, that means that when it comes to that singularity, that hot dense state that we don't understand, that could be matter or that could be matter that we understand or some sort of physics that we don't understand yet. But yeah, the time, space, and matter, as far as we understand it, yeah, that was at the singularity at the Big Bang, even expanding from there.
Wait, Volsi, can
Right,
I
but
clarify something?
that is what I was referring to when I refer to the universe, because as we agree that the universe is time, space, matter, and energy. Now it seems like you keep using the phrase as we understand it as some broad appeal to ignorance, so that you can say, because we don't understand what caused the Big Bang, now that you're using that to dispute the consensus that I thought we were arriving at, but it seems like we're still toying with a problem of understanding here. So what I'm trying to reframe here to make sure we are
Hot team, hold on, hot team.
My God, mute yourself.
Hot team, I'm gonna let you go right after Fanatic. Go ahead, Hot team. Go ahead, Fanatic.
I'm probably gonna dip because it feels like once people get to that habit where they can't shut up and let people finish points, then you can't really make progress in a conversation. So I'm sorry. As we were saying, when you come to those things, right? So if we understand that the universe, the observable universe, is those things, and we know that those things, there is scientific consensus we agreed on now that there is scientific consensus that those things all came into being with the Big Bang, right? So then in that case, then I would say, I'm sorry, and I think it's logically consistent that in order for those things to come into existence, something had to exist outside of those things. Things don't just pop into existence from absolutely nothing. So if there's no time, no space, no energy, no laws, then if none of those things, like none of those things come into being from existence. I mean, none of those things can create themselves. So since we know that they do exist, right, then that means that whatever created them had to be timeless, spaceless, immaterial, right, and a very powerful energy force. Otherwise, we would run into a logical paradox, which would be time created itself, or something in time created time, something in space created space, something energy itself created energy. And we already know logically that would be a paradox. Things cannot create themselves. If something begins to exist, it can't have existed before it existed. So whatever thing created those things existed outside of those things.
Right. So what I'm saying is that
So you're
space, time,
saying that we agree that something created it, though.
Wait, Volsi, can I just clarify something, please?
Go ahead, Hot team.
Yeah, so the Big Bang is just saying that it's the beginning of the expansion of the hot dead state of the universe, not to say that there wasn't a state prior to the hot dead state of the in the expansion. Like, the expansion doesn't mean that it's the creation of all the things that make up the universe. It's just from the hot dense state here, the universe expanded to the rest of time. So like the hot dense state is just the first thing that we are aware of, that we're able to observe. Not to say that there wasn't anything prior that was still the universe in a different state. So the expansion is just what the Big Bang Theory is referring to, not the creation of any energy. It's just the expansion of the energy and matter.
You can use the word. Well, just really quickly. You said prior. If time didn't exist, there could be nothing prior. If we recognize that the Big Bang created time, space, energy, and matter, then that means that to ever try to be able to say prior to the existence of time, prior is literally something that is bound by time. So there couldn't have been anything before then.
The argument is that the Big Bang Theory doesn't say anything about time simplicator being created. It just says that Big Bang is just our
You're uninformed. It does say time. It does.
No.
Time, space, matter, and energy were created during the Big Bang.
That's false. That's false.
For those who rest on a Big Bang, is an admission that something occurred out of nowhere, and we don't know how it occurred. You can't just use Big Bang is an ambiguous, generalized term, meaning it means something
Wait, we
occurred.
could just.
Yeah, hold on, everybody pause real quick.
Wait, let's
Everybody
just
pause.
pause.
Yeah, everybody pause. Everybody, hold on. Everybody, hold on. Hold on. Everybody pause. Yeah. So, when it comes to like space time, everything like that, right? Our understanding of it break down when it gets to the singularity, like because like just like how Fnatic said, what he said is true. Prior Big Bang and time is at at that expansion. Prior doesn't really make sense there. So again, our understanding of time breaks down. I think the thing that we're getting into is that what actually caused that expansion. I say I don't know what caused that expansion, and most scientists would say, cosmologists would say, they don't know what caused that expansion. That's still a mystery, and everyone is still working on it. But I think the argument comes up. The argument comes up here is when it comes to what you're saying, Fanatic, is that you're saying that there was some sort of agency, timeless, immaterial agency that did it. How do we actually prove that to be true? Because you said that you don't do a God of the gas argument, but our ignorance of what's going on in that was true, because you said that you don't do a God of the gas argument, but our ignorance of what's going on in that singularity.
But I don't. You don't have to use it. You don't have to use God. Fine, whatever it is. We're just going to say a timeless, spaceless, immaterial being. And this isn't a God of the gas argument. Again, I'm not arguing from a place of lack of knowledge. I'm not arguing from a place of lack of knowledge. I'm arguing from a place of like logical consistency. Again, if something began to exist, which is what we agree on, if something began to exist at this time, then that means if the thing existed before it began to exist, we now have a paradox. So a perfect example of this would be time can't create time, because in order for time to create time, time has to exist in order to do something. So we know that something can't create itself. It's just logical consistency.
Explain to me the Adronima paradox.
In order to avoid a paradox, we have to be consistent and say that things can't create themselves. So now once we have that knowledge, right, not this ignorance, once we have the knowledge that things can't create themselves or else we run into paradox, then that means now that we have to say whatever created time, space, matter, and energy, the beginning of our universe, though that thing, whatever it is, had to be timeless, spaceless, immaterial, and a very powerful force of energy. Because something that exceeded energy, rather, right? Timeless, spaceless, and immaterial, because it created time, space, and matter, and it cannot. Again, time, space, and matter can't create themselves. That's how we do it.
But you know what describes that? Hold on, hold on. Everybody pause, because I definitely want to get everybody into it, because I know me and him been going back and forth for a little bit. All right, so but do you know what else describes that, Fanatic? The singularity inside black holes, because like in the singularity inside black holes, like energy starts to become infinite, and we don't know what happens with time at that point, because space and time are the same thing as far as we know. And again, like time may not even be like time may just be a perception that we have. It might even be a thing unto itself. You see what I'm saying? So like what you're explaining, like something that's like a very powerful force that is like beyond time and stuff like that. Everything that you explain can be is within a singularity of a black hole as well. You see what I'm saying? So again, a black hole is still a natural process. And that has been like something that's been hypothesized before, that the universe, the Big Bang that we see, is probably in a black hole. You see what I'm saying? So there are natural explanations, and you said that it doesn't have to be like an agent. It's just like whatever it was had to be timeless and spaceless. What I'm saying is that it doesn't necessarily have to be a being. It doesn't necessarily have to be an agent. Even if we were to say, yeah, sure, whatever caused the Big Bang to expand had to be something outside of the universe, if that even makes sense. Even if we get to all that point, how do we get to a God from there? Because there are natural explanations.
The natural universe is entirely comprised of those things. So anything that supersedes those things would literally, by definition, be supernatural. right? So then that's how we get to the point of
Non-agential is really
Not necessarily, because
I'm sorry. Listen,
non-agential.
listen. If the thing you can say non-agential supernatural. I don't know why you would question me on my vocabulary. I said the word intentionally because again, we're talking about something relative to natural. So since we're saying this is when the natural universe began, and this thing had to supersede all of the natural universe, right? Because the natural universe is comprised entirely of time, space, matter, and energy, then that means that whatever created that thing had to be timeless, spaceless, immaterial, and
There's no evidence that it had a creator.
energy.
I
So
agree
then
with you,
hold
Fanatic.
on. I don't know why people are interrupting like that, but again, so since we know that, I know why you're interrupting like that, because you guys are feeling uncomfortable with the facts that I'm spitting. So again, so since we know
I'm
that,
like,
No,
I'm not.
that's
hold on,
not
everybody
true.
pause, everybody
That
pause,
is
everybody
not
chill,
true.
everybody chill, everybody chill.
yeah. So
Everybody chill, let him finish. Everybody chill.
Please
Go ahead,
assign numbers to everyone, please.
I got you.
I got you. I'm gonna do that right now. I got you.
Okay, so since we know that, right? Again, I'm not using a god of the. I keep losing my train of thought because 5 people are trying to interrupt instead of letting me finish my thoughts, even though I'm giving them the same respect. Now, the point that I'm making is that yes, we do know that that thing had to be. Oh, that's what it was. It was supernatural. The reason why we'd say it's supernatural just means something that is greater than or outside of natural. And since we're saying that the natural universe is comprised of these 4 elements, and the thing that had to create these 4 elements has to be has to be outside of those 4 elements. That's why we would use the argument that it must be a supernatural being.
Okay.
Okay, so
All right,
There's
and
no
that's where we
evidence that
disagree.
something
I don't.
created it, though. So let's
And that's
actually stay on
and
the facts of the
right.
matter.
I got you, Kay.
Let's ask one
I'm
question.
I'm
One
I'm let you go,
direct
okay?
One
Yeah,
direct
but
question.
Black Alien, I'm gonna let you address Fanatic. Everybody, give me a second, all right? Because it's kind of hard,
Yes,
and I do
please.
gotta go to sleep soon. All right, so Black Alien, I'm gonna let you address Fanatic. You're gonna be right after Hatim. Hatim is gonna be you, then Black Alien, and I'm sure Kay wants to say something, and Philly, I'm sure you want to say something. I'm gonna put everyone on a showtime, all right? Just give me a few minutes to do that. All right, so when crap, I lost my train of thought
Just
as
really
well.
quick, just one
When
question.
go ahead.
Yeah, so Fanatic, we can grant you all that the universe must have.
That's what
been-
I wanted to say. I'm sorry, team. Keep your thought. That's what I wanted to say. When we can agree up to everything up until you say that it had to be a being. You know what I'm saying? So and we even disagree that it had to be something supernatural, because as far as what we've seen, everything in our universe, right? Natural things create other natural things. So I'm not seeing why the universe of in itself can't be a natural process that we simply don't understand. Because
He's
again, when
defining
it gets
it
to
that
the
way.
when it comes
He's
to the big,
defining it that way, that's
right, I
why.
got you. Yeah, I got you. Because when it comes to the Big Bang, again, our entire concept of space time and energy, well, not even energy, but our entire concept of space time breaks completely down. So like, I don't understand why it just can't be a natural force that we don't understand yet, or it necessarily has to be a supernatural agent that has to be the one that created it. That's what I'm saying, that this seems like a god of the gaps, because it doesn't need to be a being. It can be a natural force that we just don't understand. But I know Black Alien wanted to say something. Black Alien, you go first, then Hatim, then I'm pretty sure Kay wanted to say something.
No, I won't be able to
Black Alien,
remember
go
all
ahead.
3
No,
points.
I'm
though,
like,
so
let
that out
Philly
there.
go before me.
All right,
I won't be able to remember all of their individual points to address them, just so we're clear. Though.
Fanatic,
I got you.
honestly, you said a lot. You're done right now.
So, Fanatic, I just want to, first of all, I want to appreciate everybody's point of view, and this is a great build. It's so, you're right on point, when you're saying that the universe has a beginning, time, space, matter, it all appeared 13.8 billion years ago from the Great Expansion. But all I'm saying is that if you understand, like, the universe is expanding right now, so what is it expanding into? There was something before the Big Bang, is what modern scientists are gaining their consensus on, agreeing upon right now. And if you take into consideration things like quantum physics, quantum mechanics, string theory, right, that tells us that right here, right now, in this space, there are other dimensions. This is Maki al Kaku. This isn't just some random, crackpot. There's other dimensions in this arena right now. So how do you define that time? How do you define that space? And when you say anything that created the universe had to be outside of time and space and energy, yeah, outside of this time, this space, this energy, within this closed area that's expanding that we call our universe. But what about before the Big Bang? You know, there's nothing that says there couldn't be a before the Big Bang. And if you say, okay, well, that's where there has to be a creator, which I do agree with Vosi, that's where you're doing the God of the gaps. What created that God? What created that God that you're talking about? That's supernatural. Who created it? And that's the never-ending chicken and egg argument that we can fight upon or debate upon to the end of time.
Okay.
All right, guys, I'm gonna do a
Can I?
showtime real quick. Yeah. Give me a second. I'm gonna do a showtime real quick just to give everyone their piece. Everyone is going to get
Well, I
1
think
minute.
Fanatic
Okay.
should be able to respond right after somebody says something.
Fanatic monopolized the whole conversation.
Yeah,
No.
okay. This is what I'm gonna do because I get it. Yeah, because B and him did monopolize the whole conversation. I do apologize to that for y'all. I told y'all give us a second. All right, so Fanatic, you're gonna go first. I'm gonna give you a minute. Then Hatim. Then it's gonna be Philly. Then it's gonna be K. All right. And then after that, I think it's gonna be Decon. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and start the show. Fanatic, you got 1 minute. All right, guys, go ahead.
Okay, just really quickly, if they're all addressing the points at me, I won't be able to retain all of them in order to address them. But just throwing it out there. But anyway, moving forward. So he just said nothing says there can't be anything before the Big Bang, but there is something that says that, and that's because to say before the Big Bang implies time. Time, right, began with the Big Bang. So in order to say something existed before the Big Bang means that there had to have been time already, which there wasn't. So then, therefore, that nothing existed before the Big Bang. Lastly, again, the reason why I say it has to be a being, I'm looking at the time. So I said it had to be timeless, spaceless, immaterial, et cetera, et cetera. But in order for that thing, for the Big Bang to have happened, there had to have been a choice, right? If the cause was just an impersonal force, like gravity or something, then it wouldn't be eternal or automatic. But the universe did begin. Right, that means that whatever created it had to choose to create it, or else it would be a continual effect. But there we don't see universes continue to begin to exist.
Yeah, so the idea is we can grant that the universe had a beginning or that it was caused, but it's not clear why that it's an agent that is the reason behind the cause. And the reason why is because there's nothing that's a contradiction as to why a non-agential thing could be the cause of the universe, such that it is eternal, such that from the process of the non-agential thing, that universe creation or universe causation is the function of this non-agential thing. So because there's no contradiction, that means it's possible. And if it's possible, that means it's not ruled out as an option. So it's either the case that an agent caused the universe if the universe was had a beginning, or it's possible, or it is not the case that an agent didn't. And it's not clear why both are not possible.
Go ahead, Philly.
Okay. If we could put in order in terms of importance as it relates to time, space, and matter, it would be in that order. The most important is time. The second is space, and the third is matter. So nothing occurs unless it's at the right time. Nothing occurs. Everything occurs. That's the law of, I don't want to call it the universe, the law of whatever. Time is the number one thing. And what I mean by that is, in order for this Big Bang to occur, there had to be certain elements at the right temperature, at the right amount, and at the right time, and in the right space for a Big Bang to even occur. So that has to happen. And when that happens, now we get to the question of who did this? It doesn't have to.
Go ahead, Kay.
Like, I'm just gonna tell you, let Philly finish real quick.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I'll only give everybody a minute. I'm not sure how to end the showtime.
So if that's the case, okay. So let's just say everything you said was true. And we all agree on the existence of a Big Bang. What we do not agree is that there had to be something that preceded, like Bosi said. Just because just because these things happen to happen at a certain point, and something didn't, doesn't mean that something precedes it. We are going to, if we're going to speak, let's actually speak on things that that are scientifically proven. The idea that something preceded the Big Bang.
All right, Decon, what you got?
Hey, so can you hear me? Hey,
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
All right, so basically, even though Fanatic is very intelligent and presents himself well, I feel like he hasn't really presented evidence for God. It's like a tag argument for God, and with that, you have to presuppose that God exists and is the reason and the cause. And then you can get into like problems and issues like infinite loops, infinite causalities and stuff, where what created God, did anything create him, and what created that, and you can go on and on and on. So honestly, I just don't see the point of a tag argument. I don't see the point of trying to use the Big Bang to explain God and use evidence for that.
All right. Let's go ahead and get back to what we're saying.
Can I clear?
Tiny, go ahead.
Actually, before everyone goes, I want Philly. Do you want to be able to finish?
Yeah, you know what? I apologize. I could not connect audio for some odd reason.
No, it's because I was in Showtime.
That was because we were on Showtime, which is like it gives everyone a chance to speak, and there's like time limits. That's
based on what I was saying earlier about things happening at the right time, which is the most important. Time is the most important thing. Anything else does not occur unless time is involved. So things are elements are introduced at the right time in a space and at the right amount. So let's skip forward to life itself, right? So we talk about Big Bang Theory, and then life occurred out of that. Well, if we go back before that, all of these things have to happen at the right, like I said, the right temperature, the right time, the right amount. All of this, if it doesn't happen that way, life does not begin at all. So now we go back to who or what orchestrated this? Now, the universe itself does not have to be under the direction of anyone or anything. It just is. It has always been. So in terms of the Big Bang, that's just a quick explanation of, well, life began because of a big bang, a big boom. Okay, well, things had to happen meticulously in order for this Big Bang to even occur. It wasn't by chance. So I also
By chance.
Say it again.
That can happen by chance. That can happen by chance. So can I clear up what the singularity is? There was a lot of there's
Tiny,
a lot of
go ahead, Tiny.
misconceptions about the singularity. A singularity is not the hot dense state. These are two different things. A singularity is a limitation of our observations mathematically. We use hypothetical math to get to a certain point, and a singularity is what happens when the math starts exploding into infinities, and we can't define or determine what that number is. It's like the square root of -1. It's indeterminate. We don't have an answer there. It's a limitation to our observation. It doesn't mean that this is the beginning of the universe. And this is a common misconception, especially with the Lambda CDM model. Now, all we need for this universe to exist are the forces that are within the universe: strong and weak nuclear force, electromagnetism, gravity, and mass and matter, material, physical things. That's it. We don't need to add this supernatural element just because we have limitations of information. This would be a God of the gaps.
That is correct.
That's where we're
Absolutely.
adding unknown elements to things that we do know. And what we do know is with all of these elements we have currently available, we have rational, reasonable, explanatory power behind everything that exists. And I mean everything.
Right. What we
don't
tend to
need,
do is add
we don't
supernatural.
need what
Pause.
yeah, we don't need intentionality. We don't need intention. We don't need a mind for the things in the universe to form the way they form. To say that it happens by chance, Yes and no. It happens unguided by a mind, but all of the things that happen within the systems that are present.
It's
Right?
following the
And
law.
these systems, well, the law just entails that it's the way things are. It's our label to this description of the observance of phenomena. That's why we call it a law. Now
I
we
don't
know
call
that
it,
these
let me
laws,
clarify. I don't call it a law
these,
by a God. I'm not calling it a law in terms of a God. I'm
well,
calling it a
there's no
law.
mind involved.
Right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. There's no mind
Correct.
involved.
All right,
It's a law.
Yeah.
gotcha.
We
So,
have no evidence that there's no mind involved.
We do have evidence that there's no mind involved. In fact, we have evidence
that
that
one, this
shows
question.
against there is a mind
Well,
involved.
well, you know
We
what I
see
mean
the
is,
opposite.
what are we calling a
Actually,
mind?
Tiny,
What are we defining as a
before you
mind?
go,
Just-
y'all,
Pause,
hold
pause
on.
everyone, pause everyone, pause everyone, pause
You
everyone.
let Fanatic respond, I think.
The rest of
Yeah.
you never got a chance to respond.
Hold on, Fanatic, you're going to get a chance to respond. I just wanted Tiny to expand upon the point that he made previously, saying that there's actual evidence that there's no mind at all. Can you actually expand upon that?
Sure.
Yeah, I was
So
actually interested in that.
we can see within the processes of how things work. We can see that things that have gravity have a attraction or a repulsion, right? Now these can move particles in space. Another thing that can move particles in space is strong and weak nuclear force and electromagnetism. Things that have a magnetic pull or repulsion can gather things together or push them away from each other. This means we have movement. This means we have change. This means we have the ability for actualization.
Correct. So, in terms of a magnet, you cannot, the magnet follows its own law, meaning not something that was that someone put together, that a magnet has this North Pole and the South Pole, and it does what it does. And it cannot veer from that at all.
Those
It
are its
cannot,
properties, and
right.
that's the
That's its and it
processes
cannot,
within the system of those properties
correct.
in this
Now,
phenomenon. Yeah.
now I gotta apologize. I'm a systems engineer. I'm not a physicist of any sort, but I do think logically. And if it's not logical to me, it is not so. Now you can say that is incorrect to think that way, but that's just how I think. If I cannot prove or disprove it, then anything else is guesswork, and that's including a God.
Tiny Science, may I ask a question?
Respond now, finally.
Think about the hypotheses of the
Black Alien,
holographic.
before you go,
Wait,
I'm like,
actually, yeah,
Fanatic,
before.
yeah, Fanatic is, like, we're gonna give Fanatic the chance to respond. So go ahead, Fanatic.
Okay, so I wrote down as many notes as I could for the people that all like addressed me. So the first person said nothing says there can't be anything before the Big Bang, but of course I've already argued to say before the Big Bang implies time, and so obviously yes, logic says that nothing can exist before the Big Bang because time didn't exist. Someone also said it's not clear why there's an agent as the cause, and I provided logic for why there must be a cause, and I'll expand on that in just a second. Then lastly, they said there's not contradiction. That means it's at least possible. And I, as I explained already, that if things can create themselves, then they have to exist in order to create themselves. So that is a paradox, and paradox inherently is self-contradictory. So there is a contradiction. That means it's not possible. Then someone else said, yes, I'm sorry, logically, paradox is a contradiction of itself. Someone else said nothing.
That would be God causing God.
Let me finish. Thank you.
Well, you've shown then my point, I think.
Someone else said, thank you. Someone else said nothing occurs unless it's the right time, and I think that's extremely subjective. Who says what's right? What's right can be what I prefer, but then that could be wrong for another person. So I mean, that I don't know. That's entirely subjective.
Not right or wrong.
I believe in God.
Hey, y'all all addressing.
Everybody pause. Everybody pause.
When I
Everybody
shut up while
pause.
y'all niggas talk, just let me finish and address the point, please. I wrote down the notes while all of you guys had the points at me, and I never said anything. Just let me chill. I mean, let me finish. Thank you. Someone says we don't agree that something had to precede the Big Bang, but I'm not saying that it had to precede, because precede literally is a function of time. But what I would say is that it had to have a cause. Another person said that I presented an argument that presupposes that God exists. Again, I feel like there has to be a complete misunderstanding of the point that I was talking about, because literally, presupposition means that the argument is in the premise. The argument that I presented did not have God in the premise. For example, I said these 3 points. Everything that begins to exist has a cause. That's point 1. 2, the universe began to exist. That's number 2. 3, therefore the universe has a cause. Never did I mention God at all. So again,
You don't have to, because we know
Hold
that
on,
you
K. Hold on,
believe
K.
I got you.
Hold on, K. Let him go.
Hold
Let
on.
him go. Let him
Hold
go.
on.
Let him go.
I let all y'all niggas go. I get it. It's so hard when a niggas
Back
spitting
up, back
facts.
up, shorty.
I get it. It's really hard when niggas is spitting facts to contain yourself.
You're actually
So
not
as I
spitting
said, I got
facts,
you. So
so.
Facts.
I know.
Honestly,
So
you're
as
not
I
spitting
got you.
facts,
Get
but
ready to
I know,
end
but
this.
instead
I
of
know. I
crying,
know.
you
If
can
you
Everybody, hold on.
continue.
Pause, pause, pause,
if
pause,
you
pause,
weren't,
pause. Everybody pause. Everybody chill. Fanatic, go ahead and land that plane that you was gonna land, and then we'll go ahead and get into it. Okay, go ahead and land that plane.
thank you.
Go
I'm
ahead.
going to. So again, no, there is no like presumption of God in any of those premises, so it doesn't presuppose God whatsoever. What it does is it infers God from the evidence, right? That I'm not assuming, right? So we're saying what kind of cause could exist outside of time, space, and matter. Then I'm asking, okay, what could bring everything into being from nothing? And the logic, again, in order to avoid a paradox, says that it has to be timeless, spaceless, immaterial, uncaused, right? And so then because of that, since it didn't have a cause, then that means it had to have been a choice, and that's why we come to the conclusion of the mind. But I didn't get a chance to really expand on that. But I was just addressing all of the 5 points that made.
Fanatic.
Okay, gotcha. Now,
Fanatic.
can
When I said the right time,
Hold
I
on,
actually
Philly.
meant proper time, not right and
I got you.
correct.
Philly,
I meant proper.
I'm let everybody go. Let me just say a couple things real quick. I didn't write them down, so I may have missed something. I'm sorry if I interrupt someone. All right. So when it comes to the universe has a cause, right? Sure, we can go ahead and get to that point. We could even concede that maybe the universe has a cause. I don't think that now, as we've already said millions of times before, I don't think that implies that that cause had to be something that's intentional or a being, anything that you would call a god. Like this is like how you said timeless, spaceless, etc. Now you also said that it has to be that to create something from nothing. The thing that I would say is that I think even physicists would say this: nothingness is not a thing. There always had to be something. There's no such thing as nothing, because the moment that you can detect nothing, guess what it becomes? That's something. You see what I'm saying? So nothingness is not a thing. So there was never any time, and I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself, but there was never any time or any before time, or however we can explain it, for lack of better language, that there was absolutely nothingness. There's no such thing as that. So because there's no such thing as absolute nothingness, and something that's had to always exist, that hot dense state that probably Tiny can correct me on was probably always there, and I don't know how to explain that all the way, because again, I'm not a physicist. This is just one of these discussions. But the third thing that I would say is that whatever did cause the Big Bang, whatever did cause the expansion of space time, whatever did cause our universe, we can say that it's a cause, right? But again, from the beginning, that does not imply a God. You would actually have to show that something timeless, spaceless, and immaterial can actually exist before you can say that that's what caused our universe to exist.
And no one can
And I don't think any of the, hold on, I'm finished right here. I don't think any of the things that we can infer so far actually logically proves that something immaterial, timeless, and spaceless therefore created something that has time, space, and matter, and et cetera, et cetera. Like, it doesn't infer that. From what I'm seeing, it's just like how we said, like how everyone said, a God of the gaps. This is something that we don't know, and therefore you're saying that there's a God in it. That inference does not make sense to me, because again, our universe could be a natural byproduct of something else that we simply do not understand yet. And I think Hot Team wanted to go, and then Tiny Science wanted to go. Hot Team, go ahead first.
After I go, I really want Fanatic to respond, because the position I'm holding, that everyone, that Volsi and Tiny, I think, also believe are holding, is that we can grant you that the universe had a cause. I could even grant you that the cause had to be spaceless, timeless, and material. I can even grant, because there's no contradiction in the cause for the universe having to be like immaterial. Fine. But what I'm confused about is how you're getting that this cause is a being, is an agent, something with intentional states, doxastic attitudes. So the question is going to be, what is the contradiction that makes it impossible for a non-agential entity to be the cause of the universe? Go ahead, Fanatic.
Yep. Sure. So again, I kind of thought I explained it, but I'll try one more time.
Is it something like from nothing? Because that's not what I'm talking about, right?
Here, I'm gonna explain. I'm responding. So there's only two kinds of causes that can exist beyond space, time, and matter, right? They would have to be an abstract object, right? Which is like, nonsense that they don't actually exist. They're just ideas, right? But then the abstract objects are concepts and theories. They don't actually do anything, right? So then they wouldn't have any power or will to do what we're talking about, right? Number 3 doesn't cause something. 7 doesn't do anything. Ideas don't make things. They just, they're whatever. So the only other things that would supersede these things, that would cause something, would be a personal mind, right? Because a personal mind is also timeless, spaceless, and immaterial. But unlike numbers, minds can cause things. They make things happen, right? Like we can choose, we can will, we can intend, we can force, we can, you know what I mean? Like so on and so forth. So that means the only active cause that fits the criteria for being timeless, spaceless, immaterial, and that can make the universe begin to exist has to be a mind.
That's a false dichotomy. So here's a dichotomy you posited. Here's a dichotomy you posited. Either a mind can cause it or an abstract object can cause it. That's a false dichotomy because the true dichotomy would be either a mind caused it or a non-mind caused it. Now, you'd have to make the argument that the only thing that is not a mind that could cause it are abstract objects such that they have no power of causation, which you haven't done.
Hold on, before Fanatic goes, Tiny was supposed to go. So Tiny, go ahead.
Yeah, I think our team got a call. Tiny, go ahead.
So when we talk about immaterial, what immaterial is, I don't know what you even mean by that. Now, if you mean conceptual, I have a reference point to what you're talking about. Now, when you talk about supernatural, again, I have no idea what that means. But when you say something like an abstract idea, I know what you're referring to. Now, when you say things like God, I have no idea what you're talking about. It's the same thing. Like, we don't have a reference point to that. We could just say nature. We could just say the universe itself. We don't have to add this extra element. I think that this is a religious narrative that's imposing itself into the realm of science. And I think that this needs to stop. I'm not finished. Just let me finish. I just have a couple more points. Nothing immaterial that exists within space-time is causal. We've never seen anything come from something immaterial, right? Timeless. Let's talk about that. Timeless means the inability to move and the inability to change, because time is required for both of these things, for both movement and change. Timeless infers inertia, or being inert, or being unmoving or unchanging. This doesn't have any causal authority over anything. It would be impossible. It would be a contradiction to say that something timeless exists within time that's operating time, or allowing for time, or making things within time actualize or instantiate. This is absurdity. So 2 out of 3 there, we can just immediately reject from your premises. Does that make sense?
No, because that's a straw man. I never said something like you just said something timeless exists within time. That's the exact opposite of what I'm saying. I'm sorry if you've been misunderstanding.
Okay, so no. You misunderstand. Something timeless cannot operate within time.
I wrote down the
There's
notes
no
to
way
what you said,
for
and you're not even
time.
gonna let me respond. How is this?
Because
an
you're
actual...
already straw manning. You're straw manning.
You straw
I want to
man.
recorrect
You
you.
said
All right,
it, and I
everybody, pause,
said
pause,
that
pause,
Time.
pause, guys. I think I see where the point where we pause to talk past each other. Fanatic didn't say something timeless exists within time. He said something timeless had to create time. What Tiny is saying is that that makes no sense, because in order for because time means for something to be timeless, meaning it has no inertia. It has no inertia. It cannot move. So how can it create something if it cannot move? That would imply that it operates within time if it creates something, because creation requires time. Did that make? Is that what you're trying to say, Tiny?
I think that's what he was saying, and I was trying to respond to that, but he didn't even allow me to do that, right? And so I was first starting with his quote, which was an absolute
Because something outside of time cannot be causal within time, is what I said.
Was going to be to argue that, again, something outside of time.
You did a great job of steel manning that full speak, by the way.
I'm sorry. It's really interesting because I feel like when you have a valid point, you don't feel the need to cut someone off. Like, I let you guys finish your point.
This is like it's always taboo to think outside of the box in a scientific.
Lee J, hold on.
Wow, it's really it's impossible. I get it. It feels very, very uncomfortable to hear somebody really spitting these facts. Anyway, so if we grant the
Stop being condescending.
Spitting facts, young man.
I won't be condescending if he'll stop being rude. Stop interrupting me. So now the point that I was saying is timeless.
Spitting facts is condescending.
That's fine. You
Stop
said
being condescending.
All right, everybody pause. Everybody pause. Because I do understand that is getting heated. Everybody, right now, just one moment. Take a breath. It is getting a bit condescending. All right, I'll tell you that, Fanatic. And I understand that people are talking over you, so it gets frustrating. So everybody, take a breath. All right, we good? Because I do got to go to bed in about 20 minutes. My wife is so mad at me right now. I told her 2 hours and it's 3. So all right. So I appreciate everybody being here. We're at 17.k likes, 42 people in here. A good discussion. I appreciate y'all. Yeah, ding dong over on my YouTube. We are gonna let Fanatic finish. Fanatic, go ahead. 30 seconds. I think you just need to quit.
He said two things before then that I didn't even get a chance to address. I let him go for 3 minutes straight.
Okay, gotcha.
You're taking up your own time. You're taking up your own time.
I appreciate it. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead and land. Go ahead. Appreciate you.
All right. So you said first. He said if we grant that the cause has to be spaceless, timeless, and immaterial, how do we get to the cause as being an agent, right? And so the way that we get to that is because, again, the cause has to be eternal, right? And eternal means not existing within time. And so then if the cause is eternal and it creates the universe, then that means that the universe would have to be it would have to be eternal. But the universe is not eternal, which means that the cause had to have decided. I don't know why she's being rude like that, but anyway, that means that the universe had to have a cause, and that cause had to make a decision. It had to have a mind. It had to choose to do it, or else, because all other things that are timeless like that are spaceless and things like that happen automatically, right? A non-mind acts automatically, right? So like laws of nature, mechanics, natural processes, all of those things are just automatically happening. They don't decide when to happen and when not to. They are just constant. But this thing chose to create the universe. And so if it chose to do it, because if it could do it at the entire time, but it chose not to, that means it had to come to a conclusion or a decision to do it. And therefore, that's why we know it's a mind. Lastly, what he said, timeless means unable to change. I totally agree. Naturally, time is required for change. However, if something is supernatural, that means it could cause things, if it's a mind, even though it's not necessarily changing. And so I would say in that situation that whatever created the universe, being the mind that it was timeless and still decided to create something.
Okay, can I just respond to this before Tiny goes? All right, so here's the problem that I have. The entire first thing you said are just assertions, like how Ozzy, I think his name is, Ozzy pointed out. These are just assertions you pointed out because you said that it had to go ahead and choose to create the universe, but we know there are natural things that happen in this world that just do what they do because they're just a natural process, right? Like I said before, your assumption is that there's an agency that's choosing to create the universe, but there's no reason to make that assumption. And nothing that you said shows that there's a reason to make that assumption. Our universe could have just began with a natural process that we do not understand. And you haven't shown why we should not believe that, or we should assume that it's a supernatural agent and not simply a natural process that we don't yet understand. Like, you haven't shown that yet. Your entire first your entire first thing that you were saying was that it had to choose. It had to choose. It was an eternal thing that chose because things are eternal and it's outside of time. So if it's eternal, it had to choose. That's not necessarily true. We don't know anything that if it was eternal. This universe could be eternal for all we know. Like it could have had a beginning and then goes on forever. You know what I mean? Like that could be a thing. But like your entire first I'm not gonna say premise, but your entire first I guess paragraph or first argument was that something had to choose, and that's not necessarily true. It could just be just like how you said, like how you brought up, a natural process. But I think that's where I will end off with it. But I think a Tiny one.
Hold on, Fanatic. I'm like, just hold on, Fanatic. Y'all. So Tiny's gonna go, and then Philly has a question for the group. So Tiny, then Philly.
So something that cannot change cannot be causal within time. If something that is static or exists outside of time is not changing, it's also not moving. It's not causal. So that's what I said. I didn't say that something outside of time has to be within time. That's not what I said at all. I said something outside of time can't be causal within space time. That's what I said. Second of all of these baseless assertions, like Wolfie mentioned about it requiring a mind, is just literally a presupposition without merit. It has no information to back it up. It has no support for that claim or no indication that minds are required within the realm of science, like I mentioned way earlier. I don't know if you heard me or not, but I think that it's just always an assertion that it has to be this God, this spaceless, timeless, immaterial God that has this causal ability and authority. But there's no evidence of that. And again,
it's always an infinite regress.
Yeah, even if it is God, it would still be hold the same problems with an infinite regression or being self-causal. So I don't see why. Like, check this out. If the universe had a beginning or if it always existed, I think that these are both equitable explanations because we simply don't know. We don't have access to that information. But if we had access to the information that shows it one way or the other, and that it's more likely than not for the other, then we would be able to say there's a symmetry breaker between these two. But currently, all we have are baseless assumptions and things that are unobservable or undemonstrable or are just claims. So as far as I'm concerned, neither one happened as far as there being an infinite universe or a beginning to the universe.
Good point.
Okay, so Philly, go ahead.
Okay, the first thing is, Fanatic, when I said, I think I made a reference to at the correct time, bad choice of words. So what I meant to say was at the proper time. So correct meaning not like correct and then wrong. That's not where I was going. The other thing is, for everyone, is there a such thing as nothing?
No, nothingness is not a thing. Yeah, nothingness can exist. Because it's just like I said before. The moment you point to nothing, the moment you can say that you can detect nothing, it becomes something. Yeah,
exactly.
So there's no such thing as nothing.
The other thing is, if you were to ask, let's say, some religious people about the creation of the universe and people and all of these things in it, I got a lot of I've received a lot of these responses, which is, how do you think all of these things got here? That is an issue right there. Just because you can explain something does not mean it automatically falls back on or defaults to a God. That's all I have to say.
Gotcha.
I'm not making that argument. But Volsi, to what you were saying earlier, like you said that I'm still not like providing an argument for why the thing had to be an agent. And I feel like I really did, but I feel like maybe it just wasn't being followed. So, like, again, the argument is basically, like, okay, so if there was nothing, right? Hypothetically, if there was nothing, and then suddenly the whole universe is there, then you have to figure out, okay, what made it happen, okay? And again,
Goku did it.
I got you.
Chill.
Some things happen automatically, right? Like again, gravity is just an automatic force. We just know that it happens, right? Light, it moves at a certain rate. Gravity functions in a certain way. Space functions in a certain way. Time functions in a certain way. Like they're automatic. They're mindless. They are just forces, right? Time and space aren't matter, but like they just happen automatically, right? If there was no universe before, then nothing could like start it, right? If there was no universe, then there would be nothing to start it, because all of the things, right, are time, space, matter, energy. That's what everything in the universe is comprised of, right? So then that means that something had to choose to start it, right? And that's the argument. It's not about and I'm not, don't jump the gun and jump to God. Don't call it God. What I'm saying is some force, logically, scientifically, had to choose to create the universe. And the reason why we're arguing that is because if it was a force that just creates the universe, it would have created it a long time ago. It would have created it like since it existed. But then again, that would be the universe existing itself. But this has to be something, again, logically, so that we don't run into paradox, that exists outside of the universe. I hope none of that's going over your head. Like if it's not making sense, tell me which part, and I can try to explain it a little bit more.
All that made sense. I'm sorry. Who was that? I'm gonna let you go after I
That
said
was me,
something.
Volsy.
Alien. That was you, Black Alien.
Yes, sir.
All right, gotcha. All right, Black Alien. I'm gonna let you go right after me, and then Oz. I know you came up. I'm gonna let you come right after Alien. All right. All right. The part I followed everything. Right. Let's say hypothetically that there was nothing. Something had to create the universe. Right. Things happen automatically, like gravity, time, because they're mindless, etc. If there was no universe, then something had to start it, and that something had to choose. That word right there, choose, is I think where we're getting started. Where we're getting our wires crossed, I would say, or talking past each other, because choose implies an agent, and I don't think there's any reason to assume that there was agency into the creation of the universe. Like you said, there are things that happen automatically, right? I don't see a reason to assume that it had to be something that chose it, rather than natural processes that, again, we just don't yet understand.
And thank you for finally getting it. That's why I was asking which part was not making sense. Okay, the choose word is where we're getting hung up. Okay, to choose means just like to will it or intend for something to happen, like freely, not by force, right? Because all these other things that we described, like gravity, time,
But we don't agree.
all those things
That's
are
the
about
point.
force, right? So then, since we're finally getting to the crux of where the issue is, right? So it doesn't have to be about movement. It doesn't need time. It's it's about having the power to act or not act. That's what choosing is. In this like what we're talking about here, that choice is eternal, right? Meaning outside of time. We're not lost there, because obviously we already agreed that something timeless had to create time, right? Volsi, are we lost there, or do you believe that time can create itself?
Huh? What are you talking about?
I said we're all in agreement there. Oh no, okay, that was someone else that said no. Sorry, so someone else. You're still following. Okay, time. I'm saying, so then this thing, whatever it was, has to be eternal, and the reason why we're saying eternal is because it can't be in time, because time, right? Like this thing had to create time through the Big Bang, through the Big Bang. So that means whatever created the Big Bang was timeless.
Bro,
so then
something
now,
that's eternal has to be
I mean,
infinite.
you're
It
still
cannot be
assuming
eternal
that
if
the
it's not
Big Bang
infinite.
had a
I'm sorry,
creator.
Volsi, let me finish. Volsi, just to be clear.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Alien go after me.
Thank you. All right. So then the intention, like to create the thing, it wasn't like a change, right? So when time began is when the universe showed up. The moment that time began, the universe begins, right? Because again, this is time, space, and matter had to all come into creation at the same time. Not because the mind changed, but because time exists, like time had to exist for the effect to occur. So like when the other guy in the bottom right, Tiny, when he said timeless means unable to change, like I hear where he's coming from, right? Because like change is like inherently tied to that. The only thing that would be able to change, right, that would cause things to happen outside of that would be something that is timeless, an eternal thing, right? That can an eternal mind that can choose to act and choose to do something at that point.
Right. Okay. So and I'm gonna let Alien go right after me because Tiny did bring up something that it doesn't make sense to me, but according to physics, I guess the math works out. I'm not sure why. He did say time and space could have always been there. He has to explain that. I have no idea what that means. It sounds crazy to me too. Time and space could have been eternal. I get that's an option.
Can I give a quick
But what I
analogy
would
for
say,
that? Like really quick analogy for that, so that it makes crystal clear sense. Okay, it's like, okay, so imagine we have a match, right? Like, okay, there's a candle in a room, but there's no air. Okay, the match is lit, but the flame, there's no flame because there's no oxygen at it, and oxygen is necessary for that, right? So the match is already lit. The match already has the flame ready. Everything is ready for this thing to happen, but air has to enter in order for the match to be lit. So then it's like the match didn't change, right? The nothing else changed. It's just we added in an element. So like God, now we can like assert, not God, whatever thing, whatever mind chose to exist and chose to want to do this thing. Like it had the will to create. It wanted to create everything, whatever it wanted, whatever. But the second time begins, that's the oxygen. Now it can start creating the change and all that. Because time is necessary in order to create change. So it's not that the being itself changed; it's that the mind chose to act by creating time.
yeah, okay, and we're gonna keep going back and forth because that's the point that I think we disagree with, that intentionality, that choice, that agency. I don't see any reason to believe that's true, but I do know Alien and Oz and Tiny want to say something. I'm gonna let you guys go, and then I'm gonna put a time on the clock, okay? Because I do have to go ahead and take care of my lady before I go to sleep, all right? I'm going to put 25 minutes on the clock. Let's go ahead and y'all go ahead and discuss this for a second. I'm going to put 20 minutes on the clock. Alien, if you can keep it concise, go ahead and do that for me. Oz, if you can keep it concise, do that for me. And Tiny, if you can keep it concise, do that for me, please. Alien, go ahead.
Most certainly. So, when we talk about the universe, I'm noticing that our top physicists, our top scientists, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Michio Kaku, they're all starting to converge upon the fact that it's a very high possibility that we're in a simulation right now, right? And quantum physics speaks to that. And so I wondered, Tiny, what you thought about that. If we're in a simulation, and could there be, fourth dimensional entities, beyond our understanding, that have created this universe from the Big Bang, everything that we can see, everything that we can observe. Science is not disproving. Science is kind of coming to the acknowledgement that it's a possibility that all of this could be a design simulation by a higher entity. And maybe that's why we can't put our finger around it. We can't come to a general consensus around anything. We keep arguing around these tiny points, but really, could that be the factor? And I wonder what you thought about that, Tiny.
All right, Tiny, go ahead and keep it concise for me, please. And I'm gonna let Oz go.
So I think I said this earlier, that we have no evidence that minds are required for causes within nature. Like, for example, we don't need a mind for the nuclear fission reaction of a sun or a star. We don't need a mind for gravity. We don't need a mind for snowflakes to form, for crystals to form, for life to form. We don't need a mind for planets to form. We don't need a mind for any of these processes. So to infer that it needs a mind, you would have to bring some evidence that it requires a mind. You're saying that it has to choose to come into existence, but the universe could have always existed. You're inferring that it has to make a decision for change to happen, but there's no evidence that decisions are necessary for things to happen. We know that humans haven't existed the entire span of the universe. We know that. Do I sound like Jeff Goldblum? Is that what it is?
No, you good. Tiny, because I've heard that space and time could have always been, and I can't necessarily wrap my head around that. Yeah. Hold on, Kat. I'm sorry. Just give me a second, because I do want Oz to go and Lee to go because they've been patient. But Tiny, just in a few just in a minute and a half, can you explain how space and time could have always existed? Because I can't wrap my head around that necessarily.
There's postulates like the cyclical universe model. It's called the Carroll-Chen model. If you want to look into it, it postulates that the universe goes through an infinite cycle of expanding and contracting. It's the Big Crunch model, and it could have been doing this and just changing states, and this is just a current form of that chain of events.
Gotcha. Okay,
And it's
that
always
now
been
that I've heard of.
expanding and then contracting into a hot dense state, and then expanding, and then contracting, expanding, and contracting ad
Okay, yeah.
infinitum.
I've heard that, yeah. So that one I have heard of. But I'm not sure if there's a lot of evidence for it. It's just a model, correct?
There's some new evidence that DESI has just found, like DESI, that shows that there are parts of the universe that are slowing down in the expansion. So it could be possible.
Could be possible. Okay, gotcha. Can you pause me real quick? Ozzy, I knew you've been waiting patiently. I appreciate you, bro. Or sis, I'm not sure how you go, but I'm not sure what your pronouns, but do apologize if I misgendered you. But I know you've been waiting patiently. Go ahead, please.
Good evening, everybody. Well, I was just looking at the prompt to say there's no good evidence for a God. And the key word to that is evidence. Like the arguments, the philosophies is all well and good, but what can you actually demonstrate? Because you could say that it needed to be like the creator had to be timeless, limitless, all powerful, what have you. But that leaves you with either an infinite regress, like who made that God and so on and so forth, or a fallacy. Everybody has to follow this except for the thing that you're vying for. So when it all boils down to it, what can you actually demonstrate to be true versus saying, I don't know, let me go check? Because a couple minutes ago, somebody did say it was the God of the gaps fallacy. Whatever you don't know, God. But about 1,000, 2,000 years ago, we were attributing thunderbolts to a God until we actually found out about weather and stuff like that. So the more we discover, the smaller the God pocket becomes. So it's a requirement for anyone that says intelligent designer, creator, mind, they have to actually demonstrate that. Otherwise, you're just talking. And I could just easily say, Odin said he'll kill all the frost giants. There's no more frost giants. So Odin must be real.
Gotcha. I appreciate you, Ozzy. All right, Lee J, you've been waiting patiently. I do appreciate that. You typed in Proverbs 6 in the chat for some reason. I'm not sure why.
No,
what did you want to say, Lee?
I typed in Proverbs 6:1-6. Someone said that they didn't believe in the Bible, but in Proverbs 6:16, it says 6 things the Lord hates and 7 are detestable to him, like haughty eyes, a lying tongue, a heart that deviseth evil, hands that shed innocent blood, false witness who spreads lies, a person who causes discord throughout the community, and feet that are quick to run into mischief. All of us can agree that those things are wrong, So
Okay.
it's like
did you want to say something about the discussion or
Oh yeah, definitely. But you asked about that, so I just felt like I had to answer.
No problem. My bad. Go ahead and what you want to say about the discussion?
What I wanted to say about the discussion is, like, obviously there's scientists out there that don't believe in the existence of God. Like I do. Like I can't help it otherwise. Like, but I believe in science too. Like I love science. I think it's amazing. Now, if I know that there's a God and I believe in what science believes in, then there's a bridge in between the two that nobody's discovered yet. So when that bridge is discovered, what's going to take place at that particular point? Like what lies at that junction? Like that's fascinating to me. Like that makes me want to get into better discussions and actually, research things. So it drives me to learn more about science. Now, if we had access to scientists who weren't condescending or belittling or, acting arrogant, vice versa, like we'd have a better platform to understand each other, and we probably could find that bridge and kick it and have fun doing it. Because, dude, nobody likes just sitting around some old boring potato salad. You know what I mean? Like, dude, like I love it when people like get together and have a discussion that's edifying on both sides. I think that's what drives discoveries and creates connections. Like that's the good stuff. You know what I mean?
Of course.
So let's have more of that, you know? Like I love that, but
Bossy wins part 2.
Part two of this is gonna be on Thursday, because I was just about to do that. I was gonna put everybody on about a minute to go ahead and get the last
But real quick.
Go ahead.
When I looked it up, it said light can slow down when passing through transparent materials like air, water, and glass. Maybe that's why stuff is slowing down. And our brain creates light as well also. So maybe that's like the perception of time, is that we're right now just experience a slowed down version of it, because our brain is like producing light, and helps us produce dreams and all this lucid stuff. So
yeah,
stuff might be happening on a whole different level, but I'm done. I don't want to take up any more of your guys' time.
No problem. I appreciate you, Lee. Appreciate you. All right, y'all. Part 2 to this is gonna be in. I do these every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Y'all could definitely all come through. Fanatic, I do appreciate you downloading TikTok on your phone, because we were supposed to do this somewhere else. You downloaded it just to have the discussion, and even though it did get a little contentious, a little heated, trust me, I do appreciate it. Right? I really do appreciate you coming through. Like I said, y'all, we disagree on this, but he does have a lot of great political analysis, especially when it comes to reparations. Like I said, his analysis on reparations is way better than mine. So if you want to know more about why African Americans deserve reparations, definitely follow Fanatic. Look up his debates on YouTube. He argues it more than I do, and he has way better arguments for it than I do. And we just disagree on this part. But politically, we're aligned, but just on this one we disagree a little bit. But I'm gonna go ahead and let everyone. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kate, because I know.
I'm like, now I don't know him personally, but I would definitely argue that that him being Christian definitely, as far as values are concerned and politics, I'm almost guarantee he's more conservative than he thinks.
I think so. Yeah, but well, I think Fanatic has,
because if we were to ask him right now if he thinks homosexuality is an abomination, I bet you he would agree.
I don't think we ever talked about that. Well, Fanatic, you have to answer. I don't think we ever spoke about that.
Well, just to be clear, I am a conservative progressive.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I've always said that. So I have a lot of conservative positions and a lot of progressive and liberal positions as well. I think that could.
I'm like, and I have some too, but I'm also not a Christian anymore. So I'm like, and so typically. And the Christian, it has been the Christian church is very well known for its misogyny and homophobia. So,
I got you. Yeah. Well, I don't consider myself to be either a homophobe or a misogynist.
Typically people who hold those type of ideologies would.
Oh, that's your phone. Gotcha. All right, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and let's go into the showtime. Kay, I know you wanted to speak a lot more on this. Definitely part 2 come through on Thursday, all right, Kay? Because you didn't get a lot of chance tonight, so definitely Thursday. I want you to come through, and Caddy definitely come through Thursday. I'm gonna let you guys kind of run the panel that Thursday. Everybody else come through as well. If you guys want a part 2 of this, follow me, follow each other, gift each other up, continue communicating. This is why I do these panels for us to communicate. I'm gonna do a showtime now, just to go ahead and end off. It's going to be 1 minute, everybody. So just for you to go ahead and speak about what you want to speak about. Go ahead. It's going to start with Fanatic, and then it's going to be Alien. Then it's going to be Lee, then Tiny, Caddy, then Kay. You'll get the last word. Fanatic, go ahead.
Listen, I'm going to tell you just like this. I think God is obviously real, and as much as I can get into logical reasons for that necessitate God, once you've met God personally, then that's what you'll know more at a properly basic level, right? And so while I can get into those other arguments, I understand why we get people who are agnostic, who haven't had my encounters, who haven't seen the miracles, who haven't had the experience and have like felt him speaking to their freaking hearts. I totally get that. That's why I'm not too antagonistic towards people who don't agree with my belief, because I understand it. Just like Volsi, I believe one day when we start having these conversations, I'm going to go ahead and show you how you can get to know God. And then it won't be about finding the proof or the evidence. You'll have the proof or the evidence in your personal experience. And you can't always show people your experience. I can't show people my mind. I can't show people what I've gone through. I can tell them about it and they can rely on whatever I'm saying. So I think God absolutely exists logically and necessarily, and you can actually know him. Simply ask him to prove himself to you in a way that you will know for sure, and he'll do that. You can follow me on all the platforms, Mr. Fanatic. I'm out.
Appreciate you, Fanatic. All right, Alien, go ahead, brother.
I think with modern day science, it's crazy to think of God as a him. And I think that when we have a personal experience, that's happening in our mind and our imagination. I don't think there's any evidence for that. But I do understand people's personal experiences and how powerful the mind is to create that, and why it facilitates belief in this imaginary entity that we call God. But I do think what we're calling God is whatever is governing the laws of the universe. And I did appreciate this build. It was a great build, a fun build. And I'll come back and visit this page. I did follow you, Volsi, and look forward to, another build in the future. Good stuff.
All right, appreciate you. 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, I think it's Lee. Go ahead, Lee.
All right. First off, science can't prove the non-existence of God. Does anybody know what science doesn't? Probably not. I just think that there has to be, a platform, a good platform where we can all discuss it and, rationally, like adults. I know it's a total difference. So when someone says, oh, it was just made up in your mind, that's like someone saying, oh, you made up going to school. Like, it's not the same, like whatever psychosis you may have thought that I've been through, like it was nothing like that. It was a lucid physical reaction. But
all right, go ahead, Tiny.
So when we're looking into the current scientific models, there's a lot of limitations that we have to it, but that doesn't mean that we should take absolutes or have absolute certainty. There's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of limitations. The current model for cosmology, the consensus model, is called the Lambda CDM model. If you look into that, you can see what the singularity is, how this is calculated. You can look into the model itself. You can see that it doesn't posit a beginning, but a limitation to observation. This is known as the closest unit of measurement to t equals 0 we can get to. It doesn't get us to a moment of causation or instantiation or origin. It gets us our closest observation to that point. It's a limitation. It's just that simple.
Caddy, go ahead, brother.
There is no consensus between infinite model and finite model. In fact, what you're dealing with is largely in part an indoctrination and point of view perspective. When you actually study neuroscience and study sciences, you'll find that, hey, there is no consensus. There's just various people who have certain, beliefs, and they believe it for certain reasons. Some belief, some philosophy, and some scientific evidence to state their claims. But ultimately, there's no agreement and a consensus among these things.
All right, Caddy, appreciate you. And Kay, you get the last word.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna. So, God has nothing to quote quote. God has nothing to do with science. And you are the one who. I'm like, and anyone who believes in the existence of a God, that the burden of proof is on you, not on, because science isn't trying to validate or not validate the existence, because that's not what science is. Okay? And I also think it's very wild in 2025 with all the medical and scientific advancements to believe that we need a God or gods to somehow validate our moral compass or just to, just to exist. Like, no. The Bible is not evidence, Lee.
That is correct.
So, yeah.
The Bible is not evidence
That's not
of
evidence.
evidence of anything.
The Bible's
guys.
not evidence of God. I'm like, the way I view the Bible is no different than I view like Humpty Dumpty. Okay.
All right, guys. All right, guys. I do really appreciate everybody being out here. I am going to go ahead and get out of here. I appreciate you all. Tiny, we're definitely gonna go ahead and talk more because Kyle, you came too late, bro.
I'm not
I'm
gay,
getting out of here.
actually, so try again.
Yeah, Kyle, I gotta get out of here, man. Go ahead and join next time, Kyle. All right.
I'm like, never said I was gay. Just so y'all know.
Why do people care about that? Folks are weird.
I'm a straight woman.
All right, all right, y'all. I appreciate everybody being here. Caddy, of course. Alien, of course. I appreciate you. Tiny,
And
of
I'm
course.
like,
I appreciate you being here.
I'm like, and also let's be clear. Misogyny, misogynoir, homophobia, isms, like, yeah, that should be condemned.
Yeah.
And religions who promote those should be condemned as well.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm like, you don't have to be gay to have an issue with religions who promote bigotry.
Yeah, same.
And I'm like, and try to quantify that bigotry into law by oppressing human beings.
And to add to what Kay is saying, if you want to study those things, they're in biology and they're in science as well. So you can study why those things arise and how they arise. And then you can look at the social sciences to get a better understanding of it. You don't have to go to your indoctrinated beliefs.
Exactly. All right, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and get it out of here. Again, I appreciate everyone for being here. Definitely join us next time for more of this. And every Tuesday